generation destroys our generation. I don't mind. I don't mind. I don't mind. I don't mind. Looking for inspiration in my life. Looking for inspiration all the time. Looking for, looking for, looking for, looking for. Hey!
Okay, does this work now? Testing, 1, 2. Okay, does this work now? Testing, 1, 2. Alright, I'm getting some reverb there. Gotta shut that off. My goodness. Yeah, for some whatever god-awful reason, the mic decided not to work as soon as I went live. You know, as far as, yeah, so that's the thing. Let me turn this down just a tad. But that's a little loud. According to the voice of Beaner Banana. Okay. How's everybody doing though? It's round 2 here, I guess, of trying to get these things going in on time. I would have been on time there if that hardware didn't fail on me, and I missed to put the uptime back on here so I could get that going here again. So let's get this going here. So that's going to be probably a little bit off, but that's okay. That'll be okay. Let's start that up. Yep, that kind of screwed up things, so I had to do those things on the fly. Still working on all the bugs and the kinks and whatever, I guess, with dual PC setup here, so we're going to make the best of this. So the fact that we've got to get those two PCs, I guess, to play nice with each other, that's it's always fun. So much fun. Yeah, I think I saw that. The win, that's what I was showing the audio. The win audio command is now in the channel points. And I did that so it just wasn't a replication in both. I'm still thinking about redoing that as far as having the option to have the win. I just didn't want people to spam it too much there, you know, have that little bit of a cooldown to it. So I guess that's part of my reasoning is behind putting it in the channel points and not as the chat command. So if you want to use the win, that's in the channel points. So that little red drop, whatever that's next to where you type in the chat there, you want to use those points. And I've left those redeemable audio commands, I guess, you know, pretty reasonable price. So I can tell I got like 100. But yeah, good deal. There it is. You figured it out. There we go. So yeah, there's a couple of them in there like that are no longer in the chatbot itself, but as channel point redemptions, and those are the other fluids that you can earn on the channel while it's live. Totally separate, I guess, from the chatbot fluid points. You can always check your units of fluids in the chat, exclamation point fluids, to see where you're at there, and you can always use those chat commands in there for the risk, the shot, and so on, I guess, to be able to supplement those units of fluids at any time during the stream. Just keep in mind that the shot that you administer for the units of fluids is on a cooldown. You can only give yourself those every few, and that's the only one you want to take into consideration as far as so give yourself a shot, let it kind of flow through you, and give yourself another one later on. So just getting some things loaded up here too. That's the other thing. lots of stuff to go over. I guess as far as getting back into NASCAR Racing 2003 season, and we've got some new stuff to show. Well, it's fairly new stuff. It's new stuff based on what I've already streamed, I guess, way before. I guess as far as the original PC, I guess, took a dump and had that little bit of a layover, a little bit of some downtime. So we're gonna get back into that scratch track build of the Texas Motor Speedway. Tweeted that out there because first I've done some testing on the track, work on the setup there a little bit for the car, and just get a feel, I guess, for how the track runs. And even at its very early stage here in testing, it's very unique, I guess, as far as from what I find. And I guess that's what they intended to do, I guess, with the reconfiguration of the Texas Motor Speedway. On the one end of the track is much faster corner on 3 and 4, much slower, in comparison to 3 and 4 on turns 1 and 2. So, and through my testing, and I'm sure it's all based on my driving style, I'm able to go through turns 3 and 4, 180 plus. And on the turn 1 and 2 side is about 150, 60. So we've got a 20 mile an hour difference, as far as to keep the car straight and not into the wall, at least anyway. So that's, whether it's that way in reality, I can't 100% confirm, but just to get a feel, I guess, as far as what it is in the virtual sense, that's been my experience so far. So that's where we're at. So amongst the things that we'll be going over this afternoon, evening, wherever you happen to be in the world, is to tackle some of the things that we left off with prior to taking a break from it, coming back into the streaming thing here on Saturdays for Spline Design Studios Saturday. So yeah, we're gonna get ready back into it. Seems to be that way for real. Yeah, I would imagine it would have to be because of that difference in banking between both ends of the track. I tell you what, it's hard to get used to, because if you're used to racing Texas Motor Speedway the way the older configuration was, you didn't have to let off so much going into turn 1 and going in on that end of the track. That's a big difference that I've noticed with this one here, and if that's what they intended to do, I guess, with the reconfiguration, I think they did that. That's for sure. Definitely nailed it. So let's go ahead. I've got 3S Max here all loaded up now with our scene for some of the items that we're working on to, as well as some of the stuff that Torch has worked on and has given us access to. So let's bring this on over. So here we go. They have a Freddy Crew. I can imagine too. Maybe not amongst. I found myself trying to go just as fast, in testing here. I find myself trying to go just as fast as you can on the turn 3 and 4 end as the 1 and 2, and you can't do it. There's no way. You have to get, I might be going a little bit more slower than I need to, but just to get the car set to be able to just roll through there and not push up against the wall, with the setup that you got on it to take advantage, I guess, of the other end, it's hard balance. It's a very hard balance. It's very challenging the way they've got it reconfigured now. So, yeah, and it basically comes down to overdriving in turns 1 and 2 for sure. So, yeah, this is our scene for where we're going to continue our work on items. Now, the grandstands, and Torch, you can feel free to elaborate on anything that I mentioned, I guess, as far as in here. As far as what's been done to it and so on. I know you and I had done some offline work to get this kind of prepped up here. I kind of critiqued it a little bit, and we changed some things as per pre-stream, I guess, as far as yesterday. And amongst those things was to remove some of the back facing on the stands here, to come to that conclusion that those aren't really visible, I guess, while you're racing on the track. But you can still tell, if you've ever been to the track, you know what's there as far as what back faces that have been removed. And that's just to also optimize the model to just take away polys and faces that you don't really need, because you're not going to see any of that while you're racing on the track. Also, to confirm, the reason that we see this gap in between the bottom of the grandstand, as far as the platform where that would be, that's all taken care of via geometry. I'm going to open up Sandbox here in a moment, just to kind of show the differences between what we see here in 3ds Max, being the fact that this ground plane is flat. There's no topography or whatever to it, and this is why we see it looks as lifted. Won't see that in Sandbox because of the geometry that's been applied, at least preemptively, at least anyway, just to kind of fill in. It'll definitely need to be tweaked on for sure. So probably one of the things too in today's stream we'll be going over is, I notice I don't have the Lone Star Hotel in this particular scene, but that's okay. This is completed for the most part. The fact I don't have it in the scene, that's neither here nor there. But the stands, for sure, it's still in development, as well as next to pretty complete. We still need to get some specular mapping on this for the shimmer or the gloss on the windows, as well as on the Speedway Club and so on. But this one, in comparison to the original model that was constructed back in 2015, that Racer James put together, this one here is all one complete model. And again, Torch, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but for the most part, this entire model is one complete model, with exceptions to a few bits, as well as only one texture. Now, the previous build had it in several pieces with one texture, for the most part. And, you know, it just goes to show you, I guess, the differences between how the items can be modeled, you know, as far as either in one piece, if you can get away with it, as far as like how many polys and such and vertices that are in the model, and the game itself that you're putting it into can handle having it in such a construction. So far, from what we've seen and what I've tested, and what I've always been saying, I've been in the track, in the sim, and so far with the way it's at, I'm not seeing any issues, so that's a good thing. Miss Kiddo coming in here. Holy heck, it's been a freaking hot minute. How we doing? Whispers hi to Torch. How the heck we doing there? What is that emote anyway? I think I missed. Oh, it's the eyes. Yeah, it was coming up weird, I guess, on the other chat here for me. Yeah, those eyes. How the heck what's been going on there, Miss Kiddo? Welcome on in. Glad you can come on by. I've been, other than just dealing with PC issues, I'm on a new system here. It's a dual PC setup, as far as new and otherwise old, I guess if you want to put it that way. And it's just getting that stuff to cooperate. Been in a hiatus, I guess, from streaming, I guess, for probably a solid 5 months now. And it's like, just trying to get all this crap straightened out so I can get back into this stuff. So other than that, I've been pretty good. So yeah, it's been fun. We just had a little bit of a hiccup on the initial startup of stream there, I guess, with devices and mics and so on not wanting to cooperate. So it's fun. It's a good time. It's a pretty good time. But yeah, glad to be in here. So far for now on the schedule for the channel, I've only been able to do these Saturday streams as far as for Spline Design Studios. You know, just to be in the creative mood, I guess, of stuff. And yeah, we're back into doing some modeling and creation and so on for items in the scratch track build of Texas Motor Speedway. If you're in the racing at all, it is a real track that's in existence. So there's plenty of references, I guess, to be able to get to include satellite imagery. That's what we have in our scene here to build our items for our tracks, as far as our grandstands. We got the TV screen that's in the back stretch. There is the Lone Star Hotel, as I mentioned earlier. That is complete. But yeah, that's where we're at. Torch, you didn't mention. Okay, so I'm assuming, Torch, that I did not. I wasn't out of context there, I guess, as far as out of place to mention as far as how was I explaining the construction of this grandstand. So what I'm gonna do now, and again, if at any point that I need to be corrected, definitely let me know. Keep me straight, keep me on the straight and narrow, and keep me honest, that's for sure. So what I want to do, so we got some items here for, this all goes back to what we were trying to construct in the first place here. So I got some of these items that need to get exported out from our scene to include that that big screen in the back stretcher. That's what they consider the big hoss, as they call it at this track. We do have some items for that, so I'll probably be focusing on that a little bit to get that exported so we can get it into our track and so on. Made with around 10 3DOs. Okay, so yeah, let me break that down, you know, that just to elaborate. So I do have that folder open. Yeah, so here's all the construction of that. I've got some of the 3DSs, the raw models, as well as the constructed 3DOs that, as far as the format that the sim itself needs. So we have one texture, grandstands. We got the Speedway Club, and we've got these canopies. The canopies, this is based on all the information that Torch was shared me yesterday prior to the start of stream today. Happen to be these little round bits that are on top of the elevator shafts and staircases for the grandstands. So that's in 3 pieces at least there. So yeah, you have the Speedway Club, which is on the very end. That's this bit right here. So that's the Speedway Club. That's that piece. So this is in the form of a 3DS in here as far as the raw model in our 3DS Max. Okay, and so we got that piece, the canopies, which are 3 of those. We got the staircases, which is basically on the front of the grandstands there. And then you have the TMS logo. That I don't know if I specifically have that into 3ds Max, but it is in the track. And then the stands top, which would basically be considered the suites, as far as the press boots or however you want to mention it. So all these bits right here. So that would be the top. So we have at least, like Torch was mentioning, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's the seating area. I think I missed that. 6, 7, 8, 9. So roughly 9. Yeah, so we were in the ballpark. So it's in 9 different pieces to construct this one model. And this is where I want to open up Sandbox itself, and I'm going to open it this way. Okay, so a little bit of a refresher on this. So I'm going to open this up with our Sandbox. Let's just double click on that. We already went through this all last night with Torches as we were kind of going over the track to see what was going on with it, and everything was working fine here, so hopefully it remains the same. Yeah, you've been a hiatus too? Bunch of life stuff? Oh yeah, I can feel that. You had surgery 2 months ago. Move your appendix? Oh, yikes. That's always fun. I still have mine. I still have my tonsils too. Funny thing. True story. You lost a baby. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Did that have something to do with the complications of the appendix? It sounds like that was about the same time frame. Did both procedures at once, ups and downs. Oh, that sucks. I feel sorry to hear that, Miss Kiddo. Yeah. So the appendix was the culprit, I guess, as far as the loss of the BB. Made with round 2. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so I already touched on that. So yeah, it ended up being about 9 pieces there to that. Well, I hope, yeah, I hope you're not too bad about that. I mean, you still have, I forget how many kids, you have at least one that I know of that I can remember there, Miss Kiddo. Yeah, yours removed when it's 2 years old. Yeah, funny, true story. I have both my tonsils and my appendix yet. April 29th, found out, okay. May 2nd, when it first, okay. But it ended up being my appendix May. Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, so that was prior to. Okay, gotcha. But I tend to wonder though if that the appendix thing or whatever was that a complication, I guess, for or is that something else? I mean, you can feel free to. I don't want to pry or anything like that, but yeah, that sucks. So yeah, you've been going through some stuff. That's big time real life stuff there. That's sorry to hear that though. That's yeah, I haven't had any of that type of problem. I guess as far as I feel like I've been in pretty good health. I guess for the most part. Been able to get out there a little bit more. I guess as far as things are being opened up. You know, post fact of COVID and all that garbage. So yeah, so I want to make a point here, I guess, as far as not to get too much off topic here. The reason there's no Sky in here is because I'm not using a unpacked shared folder. And I know I've preached many times over as far as like working in Sandbox as far as to set up a track edit folder. The fact that this track in particular that we're building so far does not use anything from the shared folder. So it's not necessary to have it. The only thing you miss out on is having such things as the Sky. Even though I do have it as an option as far as being visible in here, because that shared folder isn't unpacked, it's not able to find all those files that it needs, you know, for the Sky to show. So that's why it's black. So just in case anybody was wondering. But for the most part, whenever you're wanting to work on tracks in existence that used shared items, shared item from the shared folder, if you're aware of the structure of the tracks that come in Enter 2003, you would have to have that unpacked in order for the track to load. And it will tell you. Sandbox will definitely tell you. Oh, you have 3, 2 boys, 1. I knew you had 1 for sure, but I lost track on that. Okay. You'll be 12 in December. Holy smokes. You're gonna have a teenager on your hand there pretty soon. Middle boy is 9, daughter 6. Okay. Yeah, it's a nice spread there actually. As far as hopefully they all get along too. Yeah, as far as no major sibling. Yeah, there's a word, sibling rivalry. Words are hard sometimes. Definitely anybody I know out there, if the audios are coming out too soft or too loud or whatever, definitely let me know too, because I know I've been dealing with a lot of just tweaking everything out to make sure you know, things aren't blowing people's eardrum out and stuff like that. So it's been a little bit of a trial period here just to kind of get things, you know, all dialed in right. I want to make sure it's all good to go. So I appreciate anybody that does keep me honest, like I said, as far as be like, hey, that's too low or too high. In fact, speaking of being too high, I'm gonna turn that down just a tad. There we go. I got my playlist going on here in the background. It's like certain songs in this playlist that I've chosen or whatever seem to be a little bit louder. It's kind of like commercials. When commercials come on as you're watching a show on your favorite platform, and it's just like boom, like in your face. It's like they just want you to know it's there. Crazy. 33 was 21. Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, I do remember what you were mentioning as far as that. Before your birthday, oldest likes to play by himself. 2 youngers are always getting in trouble. Oh, okay, that's fair. I mean, that's not out of the realm of being strange or anything like that. I mean, that sometimes happens. I know with my 2 sisters, they kind of did their own thing and I did my own thing, so it's understandable. You know, the girls like to do their own thing and the boys are boys. I was definitely a boy, that's for sure. I liked playing in the mud and all that stuff, and sometimes I even still do. Not gonna lie, true story. All right, so in here with Sandbox, you can kind of get a better sense of what I was speaking of as far as like the geometry that fills in the void for the gap that's below the stands here. So you can see how this fits right into the geometry of the track to include all the banking and such. So you don't have that. We only see that rise below the grandstands here, all as a whole in 3ds Max as compared to it in its element in the simulation here. So 4 boys and 2 girls. I knew you had the boys, but I guess I wasn't aware of the girls there, Torch. You have at least a couple of your boys that are still living with you, right, Torch? Not to get too personal with it, but I think nothing wrong with that. I mean, they're all working too. You know, that's definitely solid. They're having to earn their keep, I guess, if you will. No problem, Miss Kiddo. We'll be here. Wait, which one was 3? Is that a correction? I knew you had the boys. I wasn't aware of the girls though. Okay. Yeah, so I was just showing the something I noticed too, and I was gonna take a look at that while I was in here. As I was driving through the dog leg, which would be the front stretch here of the track in testing, I noticed is this here actually defined as grass. I'm gonna look at that while I say that, because I didn't notice as I got the left wheels. Notice those left wheels of the car going through the dog leg as I got in the grass. I didn't really notice it, and that may not be a bad thing. I was just curious to know. So, oh, 3 boys live with you. Okay, gotcha. I know you had mentioned quite a few times in our discussions there that the one has an injured vehicle, and just needing to transport them, I guess, to work and back and such. And that's good that they're actually being constructive in, as far as working and, kind of earning their keep, I guess is the way I look at it. They're earning their living. They live in Washington. Is that Washington State? It's on the West Coast. So they're like Pacific Northwest type of thing. That's pretty neat. Noise. It rains there a lot, I noticed there too. I was stationed in Fort Lewis for a brief moment of time there. It's very rainy there. It's an okay place to visit in my opinion, but it's not really a place I would want to live. Yeah, so what do we got this grass here? Is this as grass? No, it's as asphalt. Okay, that's what I was curious about. And I wasn't sure if you were aware of that, but that's what I noticed when you clip the left side wheels as you're driving through there. I didn't notice that rumble as far as going through the grass. So yeah, as I look at this right now, I can unlock these for a second. The materials for it is actually asphalt, so that means it doesn't have that grass property to it yet. And I'm sure, don't get me wrong, the track is still in very preliminary stages here, so there's things like that will definitely need to be adjusted. So yeah, that was just something I wanted to look at as I noticed testing it in the track. And I'll probably get into, at some point of the stream here, get back in there. I want to actually showcase the track in the sim. We're gonna put that other PC to work. It's been working so far for me, so hopefully it stays that way. Hopefully she stays that way. Okay, so we'll go ahead and lock that back up for now. I'm not gonna touch a lot of this stuff. I'm just making you aware, I guess, as far as I wasn't sure if you were or not, so I just wanted to point it out as all. So yeah, all through here, and another way we can check that without looking into the properties of the F section itself, and a lot of this is review, I understand, but we can look at it this way too. So this way here, we can definitely see with all this being gray like this, that means it's all asphalt. So there's no grass property where there's actually grass texture. So that's just to confirm that as well. So we can go look at the extended. We do have the apron near pits so far on the one end, so that still needs to be established. This is still as racing. This will have to be defined as pit road, things like that. So there's definitely lots of things that still need to go to get this thing to race ready, type of stuff. There's a process in that. So this is, again, a part of the reason why we do this on Saturdays, just to kind of show what goes into creating something from nothing, basically. We've probably got the better part of, if you go all the way back to when I was streaming this lastly before, I know some of the last things that we worked on was back in the end of January. So before that, we had however much time before that. So we probably at this point now, there's probably a good 6-7 months into this track. And granted, it's been on and off, as far as like, it hasn't been like continuous work, day in and day out. But I mean, it's over the span of like probably 6-7 months now into this track so far. And the fact that it's in the sim and it's very raceable. Very raceable. But one of the things too that Torch had mentioned as far as that is in reality, the fact that they put what's called, and again, Torch, correct me if I'm wrong, they call it a PGA 1. They put that substance or whatever that is on the turns 1, 2 end, and I guess that's just to give the cars more grip on that end, because I'll tell you what, if you get that dialed in just right, I guess, as far as to maintain, I guess, that amount of grip that you, or the lack thereof, and this end of the track, because of the banking so much lower, I'm sure that's probably why they did it, because this end of the track, as far as turns 3 and 4, you don't have to worry about that. There's plenty of grip, just the way it is, without putting any solvent. So I'm still trying to wrap my brain, I guess, around the fact why they reconfigured the track the way they did, because it was so much fun the way it was. Maybe it was to slow it down, just to make it, like 2 different tracks in one type of thing. Maybe. If that's the case, they might be onto something. Yep. Yeah, so as far as just going all through that, I'm just also trying to summarize, what still needs to be done, just in case anybody's wondering. It's like, when's this track going to be done? It's probably going to be a while. Even if it did get worked on in the next few streams here, as far as to showcase what's going on with it, you might be working at it, a couple months or so. To get it, dialed in. And that's not to include having all the library in it, just to get it, the LPs done for the AI, and get all the pit stalls as well as the I&I work done, get all the different sections of the track configured to respond, I guess, the way they need to, and all that stuff. A lot going on with it. You're hosting a fight night at the GTA. Nice. Well, have fun with that. I appreciate you stopping by, Miss Kiddo. I hope you have so you're still doing the RP on the GTA. Nice. Cool. I gotta check that out again sometimes. Have you been able to stream that? Before you go, you've been able to stream that at all, or is that all not a thing yet? Because hopefully you get to stream that, so we can all be able to watch that. It'd be cool. Basic EMTN server. Okay, so you're still. I forgot what your character's name was. It's on the tip of my tongue, and it just can't think of it. But I can remember you being an EMT as far. Cassidy Gray? Okay, is that a new name? Or was it a different name at one point? That's a cool name, though. You gotta get the new build sent. Okay. So you're not currently being able to stream it. Okay, cool. Your Crim is Kate. Okay, so you got 2 different characters. Nice. So you got the EMT and then your Crim. Nice. That's pretty cool. Like I just switch it up there a little bit. Names you've had over here. Okay. I just... It doesn't ring a bell to me, I guess, and you might have said it that, and I just forgot. I know there's a couple other streamers that I like to watch on GTA RP that do like the cop thing as well as the EMT, and I might be mixing it up with that. I totally might be mixing it up with that. That's why you need to stream it. Get the build done, whatever. So I've been able to do it, so there's no excuses, right? So I'm gonna give you shit about that, okay? Get the build done so we can watch you streaming it, because that's fun stuff. That's really fun stuff. But yeah, I won't keep you too long. I guess you get the fight night going on there. I hope that's a good time. Hope we get to check you out sometime. Oh yeah, GTA. I tried it, just for the heck of it, just to see. It's fun to do. There's a lot to it though. As far as I'm not the type that. I guess I'm not an actor, as far as like to be able to role play, to do it as well as some of the ones that are really good at it, I guess, from the acting part. So I did try it. I did absolutely try it. I didn't stream any of that, that's for sure. But I had a pretty good time in the amount of time that I did try it out, and it's you can have, there's some really fun times in there. I mean, it gets really silly, some of the stuff that happens in some of these GTA RP servers. It brings a whole different level, I guess, to the gameplay of GTA 5 in specific. Just if anybody's ever played GTA, the GTA series, as far as just to play the game, when you do an RP, it's just a whole different thing. and it's so much. It just adds so much more to the game itself. It's crazy. Yeah, hopefully we do get to see you again there, Miss Kiddo, and have fun with, like I said, have fun with that fight night over there. Well, which GTA do you have, Torch? Do you have GTA 5? That's the latest one. They've already announced. I think it was, and I might have to be corrected to be wrong, but I think they have announced at I want to say TwitchCon. Good lord. But as far as the new games that are coming out, I think they have announced GTA 6, which is pretty cool. Yeah, I think that was because GTA 5, even playing it, I've played it single player, I guess, as far as just the, you know, the storyline, I guess, for the game. It's pretty fun in itself. Definitely worth it. And they've had it on sale on Steam as well as other places many a times. On Humble Bundle. It's always on sale at some point or another. Yeah, you have 5. Hey, do you ever play that? You know, as far as even play the storyline? Or I don't like the online. I'll be perfectly honest. As far as playing the GTA online, I don't care for that as much. There's a lot of boneheads in there. I would rather do RP, you know, as far as on some of the GTA RP servers than to play online. And that's just my own personal preference anyway. Having a long time. And GTA 5 has been out a while. I want to say it's going on well over a year, maybe 2 years now. So the fact that I've heard the rumors, and I think I read that somewhere, someone had mentioned that as far as what the new games that will be coming out. They're supposed to be coming out sometime soon. It might be like Cyberpunk 2077, where they had to delay it and all that stuff. That thing is out there. That really needs a beefy system. I'll tell you that much. You got to have a really good system, I guess, to play Cyberpunk. It's a pretty cool game, though. But it's got that same vibe as GTA. Okay, where were we at? Yeah, so I was just pinpointing out, I guess, as far as the things in here that still need to be worked on with the track. So just to kind of show it in its element here. What I am going to focus on, as I already mentioned, is to work on this video tower, this video screen that's in the backstretch, the big hoss. Now I've got a lot of this already pretty much done as far as to rescale it and so on. I got to look and see in here if I should have the Lidar hidden in here. Whoops, what did I do? I hid that. Yep, I sure did. Hold on. Had the wrong thing selected. Let's go ahead and bring back the... Okay, this is... So I do have some of the original grandstands in here as far as that are labeled FSGS. That's the original 2015 build. Just to kind of, you know, make some comparisons if we ever need to. I need to bring these stands top back. I hid that by mistake. And then unhide this Lidar. There we go. What I wanted to show here, and this is going to be just a little bit of review as far as what I've done before, but just to kind of get everybody on track, I guess, as far as... And yeah, that was intentional. So you can get a sense here of what we were trying to do here. So this is already to spec as far as scale, the height. All this bits here that are that represented in the LiDAR is where the big hoss would sit. So that has been totally scaled and so on. So we just need to get it out of here, out of our scene, and get that into a format that we can put into the track, right? So that's what we have. I was showing that earlier, right here. So we got this preliminarily set up. Man, that's a hard word. So what we need to do is probably adjust. We'll more than likely probably have to adjust some of the some of this. I gotta look it through this. It's a little bit of review myself because I know I set this up a little bit, I think, last time around there. So we're gonna call this that. So that's what we're gonna spit out as a 3DO. And our pass files that we need, and we should need two. One for the screen itself and one for the static structure. That's what we have here. This is for the static structure, and then this is for the animated screen. Right, so we got two different pieces there. And I think that's what we should have in our scene. And double check this, make sure. Let's see what we got here. So, do I have that in the scene here? I got a much review here. Unhide by name, and we should have I think it's this plane 1. That might be the ruler. Nope, I think that's one of the rulers. Yep, that's one of the rulers. That's what I thought. So we use that as a ruler, I guess, to be able to scale things up way back when and hide that. I want to double check to confirm that I have that screen. So plane 1, plane 2. That's the other ruler, okay. I remember doing that. Come on. Hide it again. Man, it thing's chugging a little bit. Man, even in this new system here, it's chugging a little bit. I'd selected, okay. So, doesn't that look like I have that static, you know, the animated frames for that piece. Interesting. Okay, so I might have to bring that in here. Alright, let me double check in here. So the jumbo screen. Interesting, so I don't have that in here at all. But here's the 3DS for that. I don't know if I got that in here. Oh no, that's just the I'll be damned. So that's just the layer template for the textures that I've created for that. You might have to create a new screen, because basically the way this script is designed, like I said, this will be the animated screens here, so that's a separate piece, but it will ultimately be combined into one output. So both pieces, based on the animated frames and the static structure, will be one piece at the end of this all. That's the way this script is designed. So, and there's that flow to the script too, I guess, as far as that. So it's looking like I might have to create a new plane to use as that, and that's not a big deal. That's pretty simple, actually. So with our structure that's already in here, let's highlight that. This is set as video screen LG. Oh, I got it as a group. That's probably why. So I must have grouped that. Okay, that's what's going on. Cool. All right, let's ungroup that then. Now I get a sense of what I did here. So group, ungroup. So that should have that plane. Yep, there it is. There it should be. So that's the plane. This will serve as the animated frames. And what that is it's just above the surface of that structure. At least it should be. If it's not, then we're gonna have to make it that way. I might have pulled it back just to eliminate the clipping that's in Max here itself. I'm gonna go ahead and turn that Lidar off. We don't need it anymore. Just wanted to show what we were doing. So that Lidar is based on real world information as far as the heights in particular, as well as just the overall size of things. So you can kind of fit the models, all the models that have been built for this track are based on that Lidar, that real world information. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and hide that information. We don't need that in our scene for now, so just hide it. So it's still in there, it's just hidden. So now we got to probably do a little bit of adjustment on this plane. So right now you can see the plane is a little bit behind the main structure here. You can see it just barely highlighted here. So what I'll probably have to do is pull this out a tad, like so, and you can see there's the screen. Now what we want to do with this, and I thought I had this already set up there, but I guess not. But what we want to do is just barely have this hovering above the main structure, so that it doesn't clip, but it still looks like it's a part of the structure, and not put too much gap in here to the point where, you know, you're going to see spacing in there. And we can do that a couple different ways. So one way I'm going to do this, all this should be centered. So we're going to make sure that this transform is all centered. We're going to do effect pivot just to make sure that is centered. Cool. And then also on this plane for the animated frames, effect to pivot and center that. Okay, so all that's centered. So that's a prerequisite. So in order to confirm where our vertex locations are, we want to be able to select any one of these vertices that are on this side of the main structure. In this case, I'll just grab this one, and on the Y, I want to take note of that translate. So it happens to be this value. Okay. And then what I want to do is go to this plane here for the animated frames. That'll serve as the animated frames. I'm going to convert this to an editable poly. It's still an editable mesh. And go to vertex. And then want to see where that's at initially. Now what I want to do, without being on a vertex anyway, I want to, what I just copied there, I want to paste that to this, so it'll butt it up flush to what that vertex that I've copied from the main structure. So I'm going to paste that value. Now that's probably what it's doing. See, what it's doing is it's clipping into that, and I guess that's what I wanted to see. So that's basically where it was in the first place. So that might be good enough. What I might do is just bring it out with just a tick, because right now we can still see just the blank screen that's on the main structure. So we may not be able to see in this position, in this coordinate, we won't be able to see the animated frames if we leave it that way. So I'll just bring it out on the Y. So I want to bring it out this way, just one tick, maybe a couple ticks. Am I going the wrong way? Nope. Let's bring it out just so it shows, just like that. So I'm bringing it out just a tick at a time. So you can see there it is. One more tick out right there. So that's probably about where we want to have it. It's right there, just barely above that surface of the main structure of this piece here, like that. There we go. So we're gonna keep it like that. What I'm gonna do now, with that all adjusted there, I'm gonna regroup this, resave the scene, and we're gonna keep it focused on this structure here, and that is going to be our starting point. So if anything goes wrong from this point, we'll be able to revert back. Okay, so let's go ahead and regroup this. Let's grab these from my items list. I'm going to grab that plane for that animated frames piece and this, and we're going to regroup it, and we're going to call this second here, video screen underscore LG, just for reference. So we'll go ahead and rename this video screen underscore LG, and this is what it was prior to me ungrouping it, because I wanted to see what was going on with that. Cool. And now from here, with everything repositioned, I got it regrouped. I'm going to save the scene just as it is, so that again, whatever we do beyond this point, this is going to be our starting point. If something goes really wrong, this will be our new starting point. So we'll go ahead and save the scene like so. Save right over that. Give that a second. Now it's got all that Lidar information and everything that's hidden in there, so I got to take that into account for how long it takes to save it. A lot of information in there. And it definitely takes a pretty beefy system. Now, keeping in mind the system that I'm running this on currently is the repaired PC. Okay, so, but it is also using resources off the new one because of the streaming. You notice the dual PC setup. So the fact that I've got these two PCs here, it's still chugging a little bit. Not nearly as much as it was with just the one PC. But yeah, as far as all the networking between the two, to kind of use resources from one PC and the other, it's I'm kind of borrowing things. So overall, between the two PCs, I got 32 gigs of RAM, and the better part of, if I dual up, I guess, all the processing power of the CPU, I probably got over 6 gigahertz. You know, 6 to 6.5 gigahertz, I guess, of processing power, and it still chugs a little bit. Just to get some clarity on that. Okay, so this is our new starting point. So now we're gonna go ahead and ungroup this. We've already saved the scene, so that's what we'll be able to revert back to if we ever need to at any point. And another point to make in here, the naming of this particular piece for the animated frames is specific in the script here. So in the script, based on the call for that pass, this is what we're going to call the pass file as far as jumble screen, and then the static structure will be video screen LG pass. So that's the two pass files that we'll need to export from Max 5. Well, we'll need to export it out as a 3DS, which we don't have yet from this version of Max that I got currently open, so that we can use that pass exporter. And Max 5 is what I use. but any version between Max 5, I think even Max, no, not Max 4, so Max 5 or 6 up to 2008 has been confirmed that the pass exporter will work. But that name that we apply to that piece is important as far as like that, because when we're calling for that pass file in this container that we created here for full screen up here, so when the script gets read, as far as to run it through the command prompt, it's going to read this, going to find that file as far as that particular mesh of that pass file that we export, and it's going to look for this. Okay, so that's it. The naming of that piece for these animated frames is very important. So what you've got it named in your scene here has to comply with what's in the script. So whatever you name that, I just happen to keep it as plain 01 in this case. I don't know if I've ever explained that before in the past, but there it is. Okay. I feel like this is a little loud again. I'll turn that down just a tad more. All right, now, and then this just goes through as far as like how the frames get modified from the base frame, which is what I initially have applied to it. So all this script is basically saying as far as like I want to skip it from this to this and so on, and those are all defined up in this point. So from one frame to the next, what does it move to, I guess, as far as on each frame. And all these MIPs are defined, and this is based on the same structure as the same design, I should say, as the original Papyrus, where it had, I think the original one had like 70 some frames. I could be wrong, but it's along the same lines of the original Papyrus jumbo screen. Might have a few lesser frames is all. I mean, you could definitely put more frames in it if you wanted. I wouldn't suggest to go less than 52, because setting up how fast those show, you really get to, you get a sense of, without having enough as many frames as this is where I've found it's nice and fluid. It gives you enough frames to be able to show something in a loop, and it just looks continuous. It doesn't look like it's like an abrupt stop, for lack of a better way to describe it. So yep, so this is modify the textures, and then this are all the this is to create a container to take all these animated frames and combine it into a group. So you got your blank screen, which is just the static structure, and then all the animated frames get combined, and then you carry that. It's all about the flow of the PSG of the script. So we're combining it all here. We're saying when out of this combined group, when do we want those to show? So on the weekend switch, we have just a blank screen on testing, practice, qual, and on the race, which is this 2, all of it shows. The animated frames, the whole structure, everything. It's also got a population switch to be able to turn the whole structure off or not at all. So you can either have it completely non-existent through the press of the O key in the sim itself. So you can either have it or not have it, is the way this population switch is set up. And then, of course, it'll spit out the combined piece as a 3DO that we can put into our track. So that's just a quick review, I guess, as far as how this script for this big hoss is designed. So what we need to do is get these individual pass files out, so we'll focus on what we need to spit out here. So our main structure is going to be this one here. So we're going to, firstly here, what we need to do is spit out the 3DS, right? We can't spit out the pass from this version of Max because the pass exporter does not work with it. So we got to get it into a format that we can get it into our version of Max that has that pass exporter. So what we're going to do is isolate just what we need to export out of the scene. And we already got it all saved, so we can always revert. So there's no problem there. So what I want to do is take everything that's in the scene and unhide it. We want to unhide, select all of this, and get rid of all the stuff we don't need, so we can export those items out. So let's do this. We're going to do another select all. For the starters, I'm going to start off firstly with just the static structure, which will be the video screen LG. Okay, so now we got just that one not going to be deleted, so we're going to delete all of that, everything else. So that's just the structure. The other thing I want to do is zero this out. And I know there's different approaches to take on this. You could definitely leave this in this position. and spit that out that way and just run it as 0 as you bring it into the track. You could totally do that. I want to kind of show a couple of different ways of how you can position things. So the way I'm initially going to show here is to 0 the item out, and it's so we already got it in position there, but we're going to take note of where this position is before we do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a text document and copy all these X, Y, and Z, so that we can plug that in once we bring it into the track. Once we get to that point. Okay, so let's open up a text document. Let me see here. In fact, what I might do is just plop this into the bottom of my script here, just so I have that. I can always take it back out. It's not a big deal. Our script is already saved, so all I can do, I just want to have some place to put this information that I need to plug in once we get it into the sandbox there. So copy this X. I'm going to put it right on the bottom of here. Okay, so that's our X. Here's our Y. Yeah, so just to be clear, I want to show at least a couple different ways that you can position this object into your track. So this initial way is just to copy these coordinates as I'm doing. Okay, because you're going to need those to place it in sandbox, right? Once you zero it out in here prior to export. Okay, so now what I'm doing with all that copied, I got those coordinates saved. I'm going to zero it out, put it to the center of the world in here. Now it's centered, it's all at 0. Now I'm going to export it. I got it named the way I want it, so on, with the appropriate texture. So export, and we're going to put that to our working folder here. So I gotta see where I got that. So I got it in here, mesh items here. We're gonna put it right in our working folder for our video screen 3ds, and spit this out as a 3ds. So we're gonna call this video screen. Oops, helps if you spell it right. Video screen underscore LG. I like to try and keep most of the files like that, and you can see with everything that's populated here, it's going to keep them relatively the same name, only different file formats, obviously. Just to kind of keep it simple in that fashion. As far as naming conventions. Okay, so we want to spit that out. Yes, I want to. Now I'm not worried about this. It's just telling me that the name, because of the 3ds format, you can only have your textures. I think it's 8 characters, so that's why it cuts it off. It's just telling you don't have to worry about that, because we'll be able to change that once we spit the pass file out via 3ds Max 5. So that's not a big deal. So let's close that. We're not worried about that. So now we should have that spit out as a 3ds right here. So now we'll be able to use that. Now we got to get the screen as far as for the animated frames, that plane. That's going to be our next piece we got to spit out. And we're keeping these names the same. So our pass file will be relatively named the same, just with that different file extension. And it'll make sense once I get to that point, for sure. So let's go back to Max. Now, I've shown this a couple different ways too. Rather than reset the whole scene, right? I can keep it right where it's at. All I got to do from this point, without just resetting the whole scene, I used to get in the habit of this to the point where I got to re-navigate to everything, the scene, all that stuff. To keep all that in the memory, I guess, of the Max itself, because I still got something I need to export from it. Instead of clearing this all out and resetting it, and we got a clip over there on the Spline Design Studios YouTube channel that explains this too. The best step here is just to go ahead and do an open. What it's going to do is going to say, do you want to save this? I want to say no, because I've already saved it at our start point. I don't want to change that. So I'm just going to do don't save, and then I can point back to that same file that I've saved previously, and it'll load everything back up. Okay, it's going to give it a second here because it's got that Lidar and all that jazz into it, so it's going to take a little bit. Even though it's all hidden, it's still got to load all that. And for some reason, I'm getting this error. That texture is in there, and I think because it renamed that renaming convention, as I mentioned, for the 3ds that I imported, it's looking for this and it can't find it, but the texture is definitely in there. So I can just skip over that and see we're right back to our starting point that we saved previously. So now we can go through the process, relatively the same process for our animated frames. We're going to have to ungroup it. Okay, and then now we just want the plane. So I'm going to have to bring out all the stuff that's hidden, get rid of what we got to isolate just what we need to export. So unhide by name, I'm going to select all this stuff that's hidden, bring it out, and get rid of all the stuff. I'm going to do another select all and isolate just the plane 01 at this point. So we already got the structure. So delete all of that. Did I do that right? Oh, I did the wrong plane. My bad. I had to do a undo. I did the wrong plane. My bad. That's the ruler. Okay, so we should have two plane 01s. Yes. So we got this one here. So we got a 001 and a plane with 0. This is the one we want. Because the other one is related to the ruler. Okay, so I just isolated the wrong one is all. So delete those. There we go. So now this is what we want. And then what I'm going to do, same thing again. Take the coordinates for this, and it should be in the same position. I'm just going to confirm here. So let's look at this. 19. Nope, it's a little bit different. Yep, a little bit different. So I'm going to take these values, copy that, and I'll put that below these values here. Hopefully I ain't losing everybody. Okay, so I'm just going to keep in mind, and I can do this too just to kind of remind myself. So this is going to be the structure. I'm not going to save this. I'm just using this in here to keep it as a reference. Oh, that's another slot. You got the little red guy. So you got the other jackpot there. You still haven't gotten the Mr. Robot. That's the max. So you got to work on that one yet. You get the Mr. Robot. That's 1,000 units of fluid. You're on a roll. That's two jackpots in a row. Nice. Very cool. Making use of those audio commands there too in the channel points, redemptions. All right, so we want to copy all these values. So that's the X. There's the Y, and then we need Z. And this is the same approach as I do it this way. This is the same approach that Papyrus would have taken with it as far as putting things into position rather than to keep them into position. And it's just another way of doing it. There's no right or wrong way to go about placing your items into the track that you're building. It's just two different ways you can do it. So you can either, if I were to keep it right the way it is here without zeroing it out, all it means is once I export that out as a pass and make the 3DO, I would have to set it as 0 in Sandbox. That's the only difference. But I wanted at least use this same traditional way of doing it as Papyrus would have done, I guess, anyway. Because you might notice, like, well, how come it is that I go into a track and the XYZs, has that specific type of positioning to it? And this is why. Because everything is zeroed out to the point where you have to put that item in position in the track to put it in its proper place. So that's how that would have been done. So again, I'm zeroing this out. I've already copied all the coordinates for that so I can use that later on to place it in the sandbox. Okay, so with that all done, I'm going to keep it as plane 01. As I've already explained, that's important to keep it that name based on the way we got our script. Now I just need to export it out as a 3DS. And for this purpose here, I'm going to call this, let me look at, I guess in this case I can just call it plane 01. Yeah, I can do that. Or I can call it jumbo screen. Yeah, I'll call it jumbo screen. Just to kind of keep the naming conventions that way. And actually, I'm going to keep it the same name. Now that I say that, I'm going to keep it the same name as the pass file. And I think it was jumbo screen. Yeah. So we're going to name our 3DS export as jumbo screen, and then our pass will be jumbo screen as well when we export that out from Max 5. So yeah, we're going to call this export jumbo screen as a 3DS. And again, if there's any questions whatsoever, you know, you need further explanation on these steps that I'm doing here, feel free to ask. There's really no dumb question. The only dumb questions are the ones that are not asked, in my opinion. So, and it's going to do the same thing as the main structure, and it's all because of that 3ds file format. It won't let you have more than like 8 characters for the name of your textures. That's of no concern to us because we'll be able to change that prior to pass export and creating the 3DO. So that's okay. So that's just telling you in the 3ds, at least anyway, that it's looking for a different name is all. We'll be able to reapply that to our 3ds that we import into Max 5 and call it what we want. Okay, so that's all done. Now what we need to do is get out of Max 14 here and go into Max 5. Now that let's confirm that it did save that 3ds. There it is. So now we got our 2 files that we can import into our Max 5 to create our pass files. So let's go ahead and at this point here, since I'm getting right out of there, I'm gonna go ahead and reset this. Don't save it and get out of this and go into Max 5. All right, so we got our sandbox still open here. Got to see what the track looks like in its element in that regard. Okay, and let's do that. Let's load up Max 5 here. Give this a second. What's the best way to make just a screen on a plane without a static screen or structure? Without a static scene. Okay, now this particular yeah, it's all my plugins for, okay, never mind. It's good. This particular structure doesn't have a static screen, so it just stays blank when there's no animated frames. But you could, if what you mean is you could, if you wanted to create a structure that has just a static screen during, like, say, practice and qualify and all that, when there's no animated frames, if that's what you mean, you could do much the same thing. So, like, one way that would be the easiest, instead of having on the texture, let me open up the texture for this this main structure, for example. So the main structure has, yeah, here's the, just has this on here. So if you wanted to put just a static screen that'll show, you can put that right on the static structure itself. Right now I just got it as, you know, just a blank screen. This is what shows, this is what's mapped to the main structure. And then of course you got that plane that's just above that main structure to show the animated frames during the appropriate session, right? As I already put that in position as I showed. So that's all that is. So you can apply it right to this for your static screen that'll show when there's no animated frames. That'll always be on there regardless if the animated frames are showing or not. It's just that when the animated frames plane is on, you won't see the static screen then. I would like to show nothing, no screen, etc., then a screen with video when called for. Yeah, and that's, yeah, I think pretty much the way I just said. That should work. That should work, I think, for what you're trying to do. So instead of the way I've got it here, where it's just a blank screen, right? It'll just have something on it. And again, you can elaborate, I guess, as far as, I think that from what you're saying there, I think that's what you mean by that. So this is what I have considered to put on that blank screen that stays static. So when there's no animated frames showing during the race, so during practice and all that, this would potentially show. If I put this onto that blank screen section on the main structure. Invisible until needed. I mean, technically, you could make another plane, if that's what you mean, during different sessions. So, like, say for example, you want a different screen to show, static screen to show during testing as opposed to qualifying and all that. You would just make a different, a duplicate of the plane, create it, name it a different plane, and then tell it in the script when you want that to show. So under the weekend switches here, you would say, when do you want that plane to show? And you would have to combine it a little bit differently here too. So if you had a blank screen, you might have to have 2 different combines, like a combine 2, and then collapse that other piece that's a static screen, and you would have to tell it when you want that screen to show, either during testing, qualifying, and so on. So that's definitely an option. Yeah, but it would entail, I guess, as far as to create another plane, similar to the animated frames, for example, that's separate from what shows on the static structure, again. So you'd have just another plane is all, and then just tell it in the script where you want it to when you want it to show. Okay, so now we're in Max 5, and yeah, if there's any further elaboration on it, I think that's what's all you meant. I'm just reiterating, I guess, as far as going over what you had. But yeah, there's definitely options, I guess, for that as far as what you want to show and when. Okay, so let's import, I should say, not open, our two 3DSs that we exported from just previously. So we need to navigate to that folder. So that should be here. Modeling, mesh files, Texas items, 2020, video screen, 3DS. Let's do the main structure first. For starters, I want to completely replace and do not convert the units, please. And open this up. Now we got our texture in here, or our object. We're not worried about if it's a mesh or not, because we're not doing anything with it in that regard here. It did step on the name of it, which is to be expected with the 3DS. I'm going to make sure I rename this here to what I want. So this is going to be underscore video screen LG. And this all coincides, as I've said, with our script. So I don't think we call for the actual mesh name for it in here, but I want to keep it the same name in here. So that the fact that it renamed this, as far as because of that 3DS format, I'm going to redo this, because in the past it will maintain that model name when I put it that way. That's just something I always take into consideration. So we got our model, our mesh named to what we want it. Now we got to put the texture on it. That's another definite must prior to pass export. You got to make sure your texture is applied, or it simply will not. It'll put a generic texture to it. We don't want that. Okay, why is it not bringing up my material? There it is. It's being stingy. No units on Scold. Alright, so we got to apply our texture. We only have the one texture. Go ahead and navigate to that. And that is going to be, now this is our main structure, that's going to be the TGA that has the alpha channel into it. So we got to make sure it's the image with the alpha channel into it, not the bitmap, because that won't have it. And to confirm that it has the alpha channel, this should be already ticked. If it's not, you need to make sure it is, so that it'll include transparency in the structure. So that's the only prerequisites for that. We got to make sure it's applied to it. That's the other prerequisite. So we want to go this and make sure it's applied. And that should now be applied. Now take a look at it, make sure everything looks good. So we got our blank screen, we got all our pillars and that. It's going to show pink in here because of just the way it renders in here. It'll definitely have those transparent pieces. Anything that's magenta or pink in here will already be see-through. Okay, so everything's set up the way we need it, positioning, so on. Now we can export it out as a pass file. So let's go ahead, export. And this is assuming that there's a process as far as to get the plugin applied to the version of Max that will accept it. So that's already been done. Just assuming all of that's been done already. So let's go ahead and choose pass file. Whoop, not STL. I need pass. And you'll get that option just like that as far as in the pull down there, as far as like you'll have this Pappy ASCII scene export or pass file. And we're going to name this the same as our 3DS, which is video screen. We got to make sure we're in the right directory too. So let's go ahead and do that first before I got a little ahead of myself. Let's make sure we're in the proper directory to save this, export this in. So let's go here, 3DS. So we want it right there. And what will happen is, as I start to type this, see, it's already going to show me the items in there. So I want to keep it relatively the same name, only with the respective extension, file extension name. Okay, video screen underscore LG, and this will be as a pass file. Like that, so we'll save it, and that will confirm that it did spit that out, which it did. So there's our pass. Now we can do the same thing for our jumbo screen, our animated frames. Same thing as I mentioned before, what we can do here is, as opposed to resetting everything, what I can do one of two things. Just go ahead and import another piece here. Let's just follow this. There's a couple different ways. You can do it this way, or just go ahead and delete this object and import another one, and don't save this to bring in the new the next item. So let's do it this way, much the same as we did in 14. I'll go ahead and bring in the jumbo screen, and I want to merge it this time. Only difference this time is I want to eliminate the video screen. Oops, I must have put an M on that. Okay, no biggie. That's not a big deal. I just noticed I misnamed that video screen, so I want to take that out and keep this. Now, that position is fine. That should be fine because that's zeroed out. So the fact that it doesn't line up with that, that's not worried. Remember, we zeroed it out. So, gotta keep that in. Don't try to line that up, I guess, with that. So, now that we've got just what we need in here, we're gonna keep it as plain 01. Going by what we've named it in the script. Horse fart, nice. Did the moo not work? Oh, you don't see what I'm doing. Oh, crap. Thank you for that, getting my attention. I forgot to bring that back over. My bad. Thank you for keeping me honest. See, that's what those audio commands do. So I must have had that on it. So the only thing I was doing was just showing the different ways of bringing in the imported items into Max 5. Yeah. Thanks for letting me know. I didn't realize I had that. I had the curtain up there. The moo didn't work either. I didn't think, yeah, so the fact that you did that channel point. Wonder why that one's not working. Just a second here. Oh, you know what? I might have turned it off. Let me check here real quick. I might have turned it off because I usually reserve that, I guess, for using that on Farming Fridays. So it very well could be off. Let me check here real quick. Let's see what's going on here. Nope, it's definitely on. Here, let me go in here real quick and see. I know I moved a lot of those sounds in there, so it should be. All right, let's submit that one again. Let's go ahead and check our. Give me a second. Sound files. Let's see. We got moo in here. Twitch files. Stuff. Yeah, it should be in there. Wonder why it stopped playing. Oh, you know what, Torch? It might be because you might have already done a redemption, so it was on a cooldown. That could very well be. I think that might be what's going on there. So, because it's in there. Let's double check to make sure. Yeah, so like I said, a lot of those the chatbot audio commands are on cooldown. So if you've already used one, and I'm not 100% sure how it works with the channel redemptions. If that creates another cooldown that you can't use another audio command, I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure. It very well might. So you did the win earlier, that might have still put it on a cooldown for you to use the moo. But just to confirm or whatever, it is in here, it is active. In fact, let me see if I can do it. Just out of curiosity. Let me see if I can do it. Let's do this. I'll let the bot do it. Well, that's interesting. I can't even do it. What the heck? I don't know why that's not working. I'll have to figure that out. Well, at least the channel redemption ones are working for sure. Oh, moves on cooldown because of yeah, so that's on a global cooldown. So I probably can't use it because it's still on a cooldown. So give it a few seconds here. I'll try it again. Yeah, they do have global cooldowns, so like anybody can't use it, as well as anyone in particular, such as yourself. Now it's 22 seconds. You use some gun. All right, we'll check that in a minute, but it is there. The fact that it the cooldowns and cooldown like that, that does confirm that it's there. Okay. Alright. So anyway, I had everything behind the curtain there. Hopefully, some of that you might have got from what I was commentating. All I was doing as far as mentioning as far as like what I did previously in Max 14 is how you bring your items in. So all I did was I brought in the animated piece here for animated frames. All I did was just import that while the main structure was still in there that I previously exported as a pass file, and then all I had to do was just delete that out instead of resetting all of Max and having to re-navigate back to the location of where those files I need to import. It just saves steps, you know, as far as having to re-navigate to where you've got items, regardless if you've got them close by or not. So much the same as Max. So what we've done so far, just to kind of summarize what I've done, I exported out our video screen static piece as a pass, and that coincides with what we have in our script. So now all that's done. Okay, so just to get everybody up to speed, and hopefully that clarifies it enough. All right, so what we're in the process of doing now is exporting this out, and I think I did that. Did I screw up? I think I might have. Yep, I did that. I want to confirm that I did export this out. Jumbo screen. Nope, I haven't done that yet. Okay, cool. So what I did notice what I screwed up on for the naming of this, because that's important. I gotta reapply this to our model here. I noticed I screwed it up here, so I gotta redo that. This is important, as I'm gonna keep saying that. If you don't have the name of this plane, or whatever you got it named as far as your animated frames based on how your script is designed here, as far as what mesh it's going to call from that pass file, it's not going to work. It's very important, I guess, that those match. If they don't match, it's not going to show. Okay, so yeah, so with that name properly, we need to make sure we got the texture applied to this, which is going to be that jumbo screen 1. We're going to our material editor. Now I'm just going to switch this out. I can go to a different sphere, but I'm just going to go ahead and, since we don't need that one anymore, we're going to go to jumbo screen 1. That's going to be our first frame, our first static of our animated frame sequence. Go ahead and apply that, like so. Now we can export this out. We got the naming of it proper, positioning of it, our textures applied. Go ahead and export that out as a pass file. So much the same way here, we're going to name this one jumbo screen. Yep, so it's already given me what I've named the other items here as far as the 3DS and the bitmap and so on to go with that. So it gives me somewhat of an idea of if I'm spelling it wrong, just to keep the names somewhat similar. Oh, see, just like that. See how I pushed a B instead of N? That's probably a good point there. So now I know I'm naming it relatively the same as the other files, only in different file format. This one's going to be our pass. Spit that out and confirm that it did right here. So now we got both of our pass files that we need based on our script. Now we can run this through Make 3DO. Okay, we got all the things we need now. You know, probably the only thing we don't have as of yet, which is not that hard to do, is to make our textures. Actually, I think we do have our texture right here. Yep. So we do have all that done. So that's all waiting for us, I guess, to be able to apply to our 3DO. As far as all these MIPs, that'll go with the 3DO. So this is all our raw items here prior to the 3DO. We're working our way up to spit out that 3DO. Okay. Good to go. Now, what we can do here, and I know I've shown this before. I haven't changed where I put the Make 3DO at all. So I like to keep the Make 3DO in my program files because it is a program, even though it is a command prompt type of application. I just tend to privy to keep it into my program files, where same place where I keep my sandbox. You may not want to keep it there, but that's all personal preference, I suppose. This is where I keep it. So what I need to do is get all the files that I need to construct and export out a 3DO into this directory. That's what I gotta do next. A lot of this is summary. I do understand that too, but it's good. It's good review, good summary to be able to go over it again. So we need both of our pass files. We need our texture, which is the TGA, and you can use the MIP if you want as well. You don't have to use the raw. I just like to keep them all consistent, as well as the jumbo screen. So as long as you have the raw textures for the MIPs, you can also use the MIPs. I prefer to use the raw files as opposed to the MIPs, but you can put either or and or both if you want. The only thing in most cases that you will need the MIP for prior to, as far as post-factive exporting the 3DO from Make 3DO, is to use View 3D, which will allow you, if you don't have 3D SimEd, to be able to look at the model in that fashion. View 3D will allow you to look at the model, I guess, in that respect, which will require to have the MIP in the Make 3DO directory to do that. So that's another main reason why you want to have the MIP file into it. But it will also use the MIP file, I guess, to be able to produce the 3DO. So if you have both of them in there, as far as the raw texture, as far as the bitmap and or TGA, or the MIP, it'll work the same way. And again, it's just summary. So we're gonna copy all of this to Make 3DO, like so. Now we have everything that we need in here. We need to bring up a command prompt for this. So we're gonna type in CMD, bring up a command prompt, like so. Because like I said, this Make 3DO is a command prompt utility. So what I need to do is do a change directory. I can't remember where. Oh, this keyboard, I forgot. It doesn't have this. I think it's this one. Yeah. There we go. So we got to do change directory. And then what I can do is, I've shown this before too. There's a little bit of a shortcut that you can do on this command prompt screen. So I want to get to this directory. So what I can do is copy everything to the right of the drive, like so. Okay, go back to the command prompt screen and do another change directory, \, and then paste what I just copied. And now that should take me directly to that. Now I'm in the directory I need to be. At this point, I need to call the Make 3DO utility. So Make 3DO space. And then we want to do, since we're doing it as a script, and I need to bring the script in too, that's what I forgot. So this is a good time to bring that in. Because we'll be using a script, we're going to need the -s parameter. And then we need to bring that over. I missed bringing that over. That was a fault on my part. So I need to bring the script over. That's another requirement. So we bring that over here. Now we've got everything we need. And as you type this, you'll come to find that. You'll be like, okay, because you want to be able to call the script, and it should be in here. If it's not in here, then obviously you need to put it in there. Okay, so our script's name is video screen. Whoops, helps you spell it right. Video screen _LG. And in this case, it's dot GSG. And we don't have any other parameters to this as far as like an environment map or anything like that. So that's all we need. So we push enter. And it's already telling me that I've got an error. So line 15 of the script, it could not find screen. Okay, so let me see what we did here. So let's look at line 15 of our script and see what we did wrong. And I'm not using Notepad++ on this, so I can't tell. So I'm just going to count. So we got 1, 3, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So it's probably going to be this one here. So why is it looking for screen? That's not right. Something I did wrong. Okay, I gotta figure out what I did wrong here. That should not be calling for screen. Could not find mesh object screen. Usually it's pretty straightforward, I guess, as far as the naming of things. This is why I say the naming of things is very important. Why it's looking for screen, I'm not sure. Let me look at this again. probably a good thing that these types of problems do arise, because you might run into them yourself. Oh, wait a minute. So it's calling for this one here. So video screen. Oh, I bet you. I think I know what I did. So that's the blank screen. All right, hold on a second here. Blank screen mesh. That's going to be calling from this. Video. Okay. All right. So yeah, this still falls in the same category of what I said, of why it's important how you name your pieces here. So the way I've got this set up here, this video container that I created here, the name of that mesh in this pass file has to be called screen. So that's why I can't find it. So yeah. So the way I've got this constructed, the blank screen is calling the video container, which is this container. And this particular pass file, that mesh needs to be called screen, and it can't find it, and that's why it's spitting out the order, the error. So what we need to do, while we still got Max 5 open, we need to rename that main structure, that static structure, as screen. Or we can do that, or we can just rename it in our script. We can do either way. I think in this case I'm just going to rename the model screen to coincide what I've got in my script here. So I don't want to have to save this because I still got the data down here for our positioning of that. So far I just left this open without having to save it. So I'm just going to rename, re-export that pass file out so that model's name is screen, as it says here. That's why it's giving me that error in the command prompt. So it can be very useful, I guess, as far as what it's telling. It's telling you specifically. Now the fact I'm using Notepad here, it's going to give you a rough idea. So I landed on whichever line it was, but you have to look at how it's counting to get you in the right area. This is why it works a lot better if you use Notepad++ to show the differences between that, because it'll have the line numbers in there for you. It's a little bit more robust of a text editor, so that would have probably pinpointed it a lot easier for me to say, yep, you know, I wouldn't have had to try to guess that out there. So it's a little bit easier to use Notepad++, or even Sublime, for example. Could have totally saved myself a little bit of time there, but it was easy enough to figure out, so that's cool. So what I need to do is I'm going to bring back in this 3DS here for the video screen. I'm going to merge it, okay? And then we're going to take out the animated frames, take that out. Now we're back to this. Now all I got to do is just name this as screen. Okay. And again, I could have done it one of two ways. I could just do this way, or I could have gone into the script and just rename it to what I had it, you know, as far as what I spit it out as. Because I've got, just for my purposes here, because I don't want to save this, and I've got all this data down here that I'm safeguarding, I don't want to save it that way. I'm just going to do it the way I'm doing it. So, okay. So I got the screen in here, name that properly, and then go to the material editor and apply the texture to what needs to be there. Should be in that same directory. Need the TGA, which is this one. So apply that. That should give me the option for image alpha. It does not. Bummer. Yeah, so the fact that it's not giving me image alphas, I might have to do a reset on this one here because it won't let it do it. Did I apply the right texture? Yes, I did. I wonder why it doesn't. That's interesting. That's good to know. Good to know. Yeah, it won't let me put that on there. And it's probably because I had a non-image alpha texture previously applied. That might be why it's doing it. So I'm just going to go ahead and do a reset in this case, just because of that. But if I had done it, I guess the other way, I wouldn't have had to do that. So that's just a failure on my part. I don't want to save that. Okay, so let's go ahead. Now I'll have to just re-navigate. Actually, it's still pretty good. So we want to re-put this. We want to we do not want to convert. Okay, bring it back in. Cool. all good to go. So now we got to rename this again because I goofed. Yeah, it's probably that's why that happens, and that might be what will happen to you. I guess if you ever try that, you definitely want to make sure if your object has transparency in it, or you want transparency in it, you have a texture in the form of a TGA that has alpha channel. You have to make sure that that image alpha is checked, that little radio button. Otherwise, you won't have any transparency in the model. So that's definitely important. Okay, so let's go back into Material Editor. Oops. Make sure the screen. Okay, now I gotta go M. Hello. Cooperate. There we go. I don't know why that's doing that. That's crazy. It's kind of doesn't want to open the Material Editor sometimes. All right, there we go. Get the Material Editor and go to our TGA, which is this one, and we should have image alpha. Cool. So that's, like I said, this is very important if we want that transparent, the alpha channel, I guess, of that texture applied to the model. Otherwise, it'll just show all pink and magenta or whatever. Okay, so with all that applied, like, oops, I gotta select the item. Apply it. Has to be applied to it upon export, otherwise it won't, apply just the generic texture to it, and that's not what we want. So, alright, so it's named properly, texture's applied, good to go. So let's go ahead and export this out as a pass file. And we're going to overwrite this one because that was wrong. And we're going to have to bring that new export of the pass from here and put it into Make 3DO. And we're going to overwrite that one right here. Paste. Yes. Now we can run that back through. Now we've already typed all this information in here. All I got to do, quick little shortcut, F8 on there, and that should. Did I spell that right? Videos. Yep. Cool. Just making sure. This is reconfirming, I guess, that I did type it right in the first place. So now that, and now it should spit it out. Cool. That's what we want to see. So as long as we don't get any errors, should be good to go. And there's our, now, if you have 3D SimEd, you can double click on the item, even with the raw images. If you have the MIPS in there, it even helps too. But I can click on this because I do have 3D SimEd. And it should open the model initially. There it is. And why in the hell does it have that out of position? So our animated frames for some reason are out of position there. I goofed somewhere. Yeah, that should definitely be over the top. So I exported that out improperly, it looks like. Yikes, okay. Yeah, so that should be... Trying to figure out why I did that. Did I have to reset? Because I didn't change the scale of it or anything like that. That's weird. Yeah, this pink area, this would be considered our animated frames. That should be over the top of where that blank area is, and it's not. So, got to fix that. That did not export properly. Okay, fair enough. Now, I know I've mentioned before, a lot of times you don't want to go by the way it's showing in 3D SimEd, but that's pretty evident. That's going to be the way it is even in the track. That's not one of those cases where it's going to be out of place. That's definitely out of place. All right, so let's go ahead and exit out of that. Okay. The other thing I am going to do, I'm going to bring the MIPS in here, and I'm going to check it in View 3D. See what happens there. Let's see what happens here. So if we go, we're running all kinds of problems today with this stuff. And it might be something that I just overlooked as far as when I exported out. Very possible. I might have to go back to Max 14 and re-export out 3ds. Possibly. Possibly. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Alright, so let's bring in the MIP files here. I'm going to check this in View 3D just out of curiosity. In fact, I'm going to need all of that. Let me double check the let's look at the integrity of our... Yeah, see, here's Notepad. Now, you can't open Notepad 3DOs and Notepad++, it'll just make it garbled. So that's probably fair mention. But you don't usually need to edit a 3DO in that fashion anyway. So I'm just going to open this up with Notepad. And let's look and see what MIPs we do have applied to this. We're going to find MIP. Like so. So we got our video screen LG, which is our static structure. And we should have all the screens. So 2, 3, 4, all and so on. So that looks all normal. It just put it out, that animated frames out of position somehow. Okay, so everything is in there. Cool. So the structure of that is fine. We just need to figure out why it put it out of position there. So I'm gonna go ahead and delete this because that did not spit it out right. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back to max 14. It looks like. Let's go ahead and reset this and go back into 14 and see what we did wrong. We did something wrong. Okay. Okay. So let's reload max 14 here. We've got that scene, and this is why I like to set the scene up so that it's pointing to what I want, you know, as far as alright, so let's go ahead and get this loaded up. Give this a second to load. How's everybody doing out there so far? I know I'm, other than these little bit of hiccups that I've got here, I think it's going pretty well. But it's all on how you're able to navigate through some of the problems you might run into like this. So, hey bud, what's up? Racer James coming on in there hot and heavy with that resub. Was that which prime? How much was that? 31 months this minute. Oh my goodness. We need some hype in the chat. You got the emotes out there. Get some hype out in the chat. Exclamation point hype also as well. Make sure that's what it is. Is that working? Yeah, it is working. There you go. Get the emotes out. Slam them out there. How are we doing? James, I know Racer James, you've been doing some flooring. Last time I checked there. What's going on? Yeah, you were doing some flooring, I guess, in the house there. That sounds like fun. Sounds like it's been an adventure. But I hope we're finding you well, I guess, as far as otherwise. I get a kick out of the little meme you can put out there with the little beaver, as far as like it's one damn project after another. Shows a little beaver in it. It's pretty funny. You got the kitchen done. Nice. So I assume you're planning on doing the whole house, or is that just the kitchen, dining room, living room? Okay, we need to reopen the scene. Just gotta find it again. So that should have been in Torches folder. That's right. So many little projects going on. So we got that and this one right here. Let's see what we did wrong here. I did kind of get a sense of there was something out of place when I brought the animated frames into max and it was shifted. I think that might have been where it started from, and I think it originates from. That's why I got to bring it back into 14 here. All right, let's continue on that. Master bedroom gets the same type of flooring, different color than the living room, and then the front bedroom gets carpet. Oh, okay. So you got just the one room that gets carpet. Nice. Very, very nice. Yeah, I haven't. I saw a glimpse as far as what was going on there. You had like samples on the floor, but I haven't obviously seen it done. So it'd be pretty cool to see it finished. Pretty cool. All right. So what I need to do is probably just isolate the animated frames. So let's do this. We're going to pan out on this. We need to ungroup this first off. Trying to think of why it did that in the first place, though, because I zeroed out. Yeah, I think it was with my the way I zeroed the thing out is what the problem was. I think that's what it is, but I don't remember. Oh lordy, I don't remember. I'm trying to remember now. I'm having to refresh my own memory, I guess, as far as how I kept, as far as using the zero out method there. I got to refresh my own darn memory. My goodness, having a brain fart right now. Yeah, so I think I kind of get why it did that is because the way I brought that out there, because I need to have both items, I guess, to be at the same translate. I don't want to collapse it because it's two separate items. That's why I needed two separate pass files. Yeah, so it's a little bit of a, I gotta think about this for a second, how I'd done that before. I know it's been done, I just trying to remember how the heck I did it. It might come down to Ayakalamba. Alright, let me go ahead and ungroup this here while I'm thinking of that. I know that needs to be done. So let's do that. So that's the video screen. And I need this to be... And that was slightly different to begin with. I guess that's to be expected. So the Z should still be at 31363. It's not. Okay. So that's probably why it's, when I zero it out, it's not... How in the heck did I do that before? I gotta think about this a second, so I'm trying to remember. Definitely a refresher course, like I said. Hey, yeah, so how we doing? It's going pretty good. I got a little bit of a hiccup here right now, but I get it figured out. I'm trying to remember how I zeroed out. It's just a matter of zeroing out my items so that they don't get out of whack. Keeping them in position, but not collapsing them together to make them into one piece. So yeah, it's a little bit of a hiccup right here, but yeah. Yep, definitely jogging the memory bank. I know it's been done. I'm just trying to remember how the heck I did it. So we got our two different pieces here, and we need them to stay relatively. So the problem is when we put this one at 0, it's obviously this is at a different position here, right? As far as center goes. So when I even look at the translates for each item, that's why it's throwing it out of whack. You know, as far as the way I spit it out as one piece. Previously, you could see how the animated frames were offset. They weren't in the right spot, and this is why, because both items aren't at the same 0. They are at 0, but it's like you got to have them at the same translate. So technically, trying to remember how to do this. So if I go back to my script here real quick. The way I have this done is I can combine both pass files. I just got to remember how I kept the translates proper. Yeah, so you can see the differences in a way here, I guess, as far as between, this is the animated frames, and then this one's the structure. And that's why when I zero it out, they both have their own orientation. So it's like, because they're different in that regard, I got to figure out how I did that before with... Holy crap. So yeah, definitely jogging the memory bank. Let me think here. I know it's probably a lot easier than it's a super big brain fart right now. I know what I will do. Let's go ahead and unhide the stuff so we can get those things out. So unhide by name, do a select all. Bring all that stuff out and get it out of here. Select all, and we'll isolate. We're gonna isolate at least just the let's see, where is it? My bad. So the video screen and the plane, got two of them in here, I gotta remember. So that one right there. Let's isolate those and get rid of everything else. Okay, so these two items are what we're dealing with. Okay, so what I might end up doing is just leaving them in position and just zero it out. It might be easier that way, because I think there's a little bit more involved with trying to get both these separate pieces in the same position. Yeah, so I might just go ahead and follow the other process that you can do, as I previously mentioned, as far as keep it in position. The only thing that would happen is you'd have to put it in as 0 as a 3DO, I guess, as far as in Sandbox anyway. I know there's a way to do it as far as to be able to zero it out and keep things into position there. I just can't remember at this point. So we're going to kind of go backwards a little bit, I guess, as far as, and go to the other option, and it's just another way of being able to apply it. I think the fact that I've got these two separate pieces to make it into one, it's just going to make it a little bit more complicated. It's definitely doable. I know I have done it before, I just can't think of how I did that before at the present time. So in an effort, I guess, to not waste too much time on that, I'm just going to go ahead and leave this right where it's at. I'll export each of these with that same translate. So let's do this structure first. We'll delete this. Yeah, we'll delete this. This will be a little bit different process here, but it'll be this. It'll be all right. Everything's peachy keen. So let's go ahead and export this out as a 3DS. So we'll need to go here, modeling, mesh items, Texas 20, video screen, 3DS, and then export this out as a 3DS. And this is our video screen LG. Yep. And okay. Okay, so that's exported out. Now we can do, back this up, bring that back. Now we'll delete this out and isolate just the animated frames. And I should have probably renamed the video screen. I can do that in Max 5, so that's fine. We have to remember to rename that main structure as screen to coincide with our script. And again, it just comes down to the importance of what you name the meshes based on your script. They have to match the model mesh as well as what you got it named in your script. Otherwise, it won't work. So I can spit this one out as another new 3DS. Yeah, we'll just keep it a little bit simpler, I guess, at this point. But you kind of get the idea that there's a method to the madness as far as like how you have to keep things in position upon zeroing them out. The fact that we've got two different components here, it's a little bit different, I guess, to keep them in the right spot, so that when you combine all that together and make the one 3DO out of two pieces, that they're in the right position. Obviously that didn't work out there. I know there's a way to do it. Like I said, I know I sound like a broken record, but there's definitely a way to do that and keep those into position but still be able to zero it all out. So I won't continue to beat that dead horse. So we want to spit this one out as jumbo screen. Yes, we want to replace it, and that's fine. So now we can get out of this. We'll go back into Max 5 and bring those 3DSs back in there and make new pass files. Don't save it. Okay, and get right out of that. Now we're going to open up Max 5 again and reload those newly exported 3DS files. And we'll go from there. Yeah, I appreciate Yasso stopping out in there. I know they're, even if it isn't in the lurking status, appreciate that. Lurkers are always welcome. But I want to reiterate, I guess, as far as another thing I like to keep reiterating, I guess, as far as if there's anything that someone has a question about as far as the way I'm doing things, and I know I try to explain as much as I can as I'm doing it, but if there's something that doesn't make sense and you want a little bit more explanation to it, feel free to ask, I guess, anyway. Just trying to figure out what you're doing. We're doing a little bit of 3D modeling, but basically, just to put it in a nutshell, what we're trying to do is it's a video screen. It's an animated video screen that we're trying to get into our freshly built, scratch-built track for a racing simulation. In this case, NASCAR Racing 2003 season. So we've got some other items in here already that Torch has put together. He's in chat as well, as far as he's the one that's the main brains, I guess, behind this particular build. And what is going on here? Why is that all cut out? Is that because of the texture there, Torch? I didn't notice that just till now. Or are those polys skipped out by accident? Oh, you know what? I know what I didn't do, I don't think. I didn't replace that texture. I don't think I did. Let me double check that. Yeah, because it's still showing the SMI logos in here. That model's not updated. I'll be damned. Here, let me, yeah, so that's probably, that's a failure on my part again. So yeah, I either didn't update the model and or the texture to this thing. Check that out. I think it's something I did wrong. All right, so let's double check this. I thought I got that all squared away when we were messing around with this yesterday. Let's go ahead and fix that. Let's see what we got here. Okay, so this is the track that I'm opening. And that should be stands, top, and canopies, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. So all the loose items in here, all these 3DOs that we see here, are all the individual items that are applied to the track, to include all the styrofoam for the safer. It's all 3D. Let's, what was that? Stands, canopies, yeah, so there's 3 of those. Let me load those up here real quick and see what we got. Okay, so there's the one set. Let's see here. Yeah, see, these still have the, okay, so I don't think I updated those in the track that I got open here. I thought I did. I guess not. Let's confirm that with the files that I have in here. I think I just didn't replace them is all. Okay, so let's go this way. So these that you've got... Oh, I didn't put them in here. What the heck? Or did I put them in the track folder and not in there? Interesting. The heck did I do? So I had, when we were doing this yesterday, Torch, I had this one open that you sent to me, and then I had also in the game track directory, and I think I put them in the game track directory and not in here is all I did. So I just got to fix that is all. Let's go like this. Let's go check our game track directory and just see what I did here. So we got the Texas 2020 TE, and let's open this one up. I know Canopy is at least one of them that's not correct. Where'd that go? Wait a minute, do I even have them in here? Oh, stands canopy, my bad, I was looking for C. There, so let's check this one. Or these. These are the right ones. These still got the SM, what the heck? Okay. Okay, so those are both the same. I thought those were the polys you spanked out of that. That should be using the grandstand's texture. Let me double check that real quick. The heck did I do? It's got to be something I did. I guarantee it. All right, let me open up. Yeah, because I created this TGA based on that texture. The MIP, I should say. Yeah, so that's all that's gone. Okay. That is weird. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out what I did here. Bear with me, folks. I think I got, okay, here's the stands canopy right here. Let's open this one. Maybe I didn't put them in there. Okay, let's open this one up. So this is the one I was looking for. See, I was looking for C and not stands. Yeah, here's the ones. Yeah, I just got the wrong ones in there. Yeah, it has those missing polys. Okay. Yep, it was my fault. My bad. We'll get it fixed. We'll get it fixed. Yep. Oh, that reminds me, the iRacing did a promo for their faux 2022 Atlanta reconfig. Yeah, whatever. I'm done with their faux crap. The way they did North Wilkesboro, that after I saw that rendition, it's like, that's garbage. I'm done with iRacing. Whatever. They're just gonna do whatever they want and charge people for it, and people are just gonna gawk on it. It's like, whatever. I'm done with it. I'll just sit here and enjoy my NASCAR Racing 2003. Yep, fixing it. Yep, we're fixing it. All right, so what I need to do is put this, these canopies in here. So I'm gonna put that bolt while I got the game track directory open as well as in the one we got open in Sandbox. And I'll have to reopen it in Sandbox, obviously, too. For sure. Okay, so let's do paste. Wait, those are the right ones. What the heck? Is the texture not replaced? Ay, ay, ay. Let's try this. So this is the track I got loaded in Sandbox. Those were already the right ones. Hey, gummit. I thought I had it figured out. There's got to be a reason it's doing that, though. That's the game track directory. Those are good. Oh, my goodness. Okay. So the other one would be stands top. Still check that one. Yeah, I could have swore I did all that already. Okay, that's the game track directory. Let's go back this way. Stands top. Where's that one at? This one's right here. Copy that one. Yeah, there's got to be a reason why that's not loading in Sandbox properly. Unless it has a state switching error that I'm not aware of. You can probably check that too. It doesn't work this way. Yeah, let's check this out. Let's just make sure, let's just ensure everything is in. Yeah, so everything's as it should be. Let's go ahead and get the texture too, just to make sure. Second. Go back here. This texture, grandstands, copy. Yeah, so the fact that it's using just the one texture for all these individual pieces, kind of nice in a way. All right, so paste. Yeah, so the grandstands is newer, so maybe that's what it is. I think it was just the texture I didn't replace. That's what's causing it. It wasn't the 3DOs themselves, it was the texture I didn't replace. All right, so let's go ahead and replace that in the game track directory as well, which is this one. Yep, so it was the texture. I didn't replace the texture. I did the 3DOs, but not the texture. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and reload this in Sandbox. Now it should look right. I do not want to save that. So we did move around in there and all that jazz. We don't want to save that. Okay, so now we'll reload this. Now it should be good. It was just, yeah, it was just that texture. So the fact that it does have alpha channel in that texture that we got applied to it, that's why it was showing funky. I just had to go through the steps to see if it was the 3DOs, you know, the model itself, or was it? Obviously, we came to the conclusion it was the texture causing the problem. Yeah, they shouldn't show, but I think it was probably just the way. It'll probably show fine in here. If it doesn't, then obviously we got another issue, but let's take a look in here in Sandbox now. In our camera view, now it should look fine. You know, when you've got, when you have alpha channel, I guess, into a model, it can do some strange things like that. I think it'll be fine though. Yeah. Yeah, so you do have some bleed with that. Looks like there's some there, but those, see, those faces are gone. So there might be just some tweaking you might have to do on the texture, for like these canopies, for example. Because it's definitely, these faces are gone, and I don't see that all missing like that. So it might be just have to edit the texture. Let's take a closer look at the texture while we're at it. There might be just some bleed on that. So let's go back this way, and let's load that up here. So depending on, and I don't have the wire to where that's actually mapped there, but there might be something, the way you've got those faces mapped, that it's bleeding into this magenta area, which would be in the MIP as far as it being transparent, and that might be why it's doing that. You had those adjusted, I guess, as far as this little gap that's showing here too. I've already confirmed that it's the right 3DO, and I just replaced the texture. The only thing that I'm seeing so far is this little gap here. That's the only thing that I'm seeing. Unless you're saying you already fixed those too. Might be just have to get those 3DOs from you, is all. Because now at this point I got the 3DOs you gave me and the texture updated, but it does have a majority of those back faces that you had on the model previously. Those are all missing, at least anyway. Okay, well, double check that, and if there's something that you might have that I don't have, just double check it on your end to see if that's what you see, and if not, I just need to get those files. But that's the only issue that I see so far, is just that on the canopies. Which is not really big. That at this point, it's not really that big of a deal. It's just a matter of either making sure I got the right model for the canopies, and or yeah. So yeah, I've already confirmed. I'll just humor it again. So if you go back into here, the dates on these stands canopy. Let's just do it this way. So the ones you sent me that were refreshed. Where right here, so stands canopy 1, 2, 3. So these are the ones you sent me that way. Let's go ahead and open it this way again too. I think I opened that. I opened it this way, and it was, yeah, see, these don't have the back faces first for the SMI logo on the back side. It's kind of hard in 3D Sim, I guess, to get it centered because of the way it's oriented, but can't tell if it's got that gap in here. See, zoom in, dang it. Does not look like it does. Let me try and recopy it over just for the heck of it. Just for the heck of it. I'll humor it. So let's go like this. We'll go ahead and recopy these items to what we've got loaded in Sandbox, which is here. And just to confirm, see, all of them are the same. Same date and time. And that's what's currently loaded in Sandbox. Let's go ahead and reload Sandbox just for giggles. See what's going on here. So it's reloaded. So everything is confirmed. It's all. I've opened up 3D Sim. It's got that shape or that look to it. If I open it up in Sandbox. Okay. You gotta cut it short tonight. I need to clean up. Oh yeah, it's understandable, Racer James. Yeah, that's the only bad thing with getting into some of these projects like that, is the mess that needs to be cleaned up afterwards. But I'm definitely sure it's going to look nice post-fact. Guarantee you that. Whoops. Okay. All right. So I give that a second to load back up, and let's take a look at it again. So I've confirmed I've got what I got from you, as well as the textures up is correct. See how it looks this time. Yeah, so on my end it's still looking like that, so not sure. Not too sure. And I assume that piece is separate, as we know. Is yeah, I don't know why it's doing that, but there it is. I've already confirmed that it's all the proper model and texture. No other place other than those canopies seem to be an issue, though. Are they all like that? They all seem to be like that. It almost seems like it's not so much the model itself of it. It's because it's like it's bleeding into the the magenta area as far as the transparency. That's what it seems like. That's what it seems like anyway. Yeah, for the most part, and this is the part of the, you know, the whole creation process right there. Yeah, so is you're gonna run into stuff like this, and it's just a matter of finding out what's causing it and so on. But yeah, this grandstand's all based on, if you're familiar with Lidar, which is real world topography information. That's what we've been dealing with to get this this far, as far as to get the proper banking on the track and so on. We've used real-world LiDAR information to get this, to get it the way it is currently, to include the structures as well as the geometry of the banking and so on. So this grandstand, the Speedway Club, that's on, this is all at the actual track, and then this Lone Star Hotel that's on the outside of Turn 2, and then I'm working on that video screen. All these pieces are evident in the track, and then, you know, so we're trying to get it as much as that detail as we can into our virtual track, to include, I guess, as far as having 3D safer barrier. And this is the system that they put at the tracks, whatever, to absorb a lot of the energies from crashes, just to put it simply. In most cases in the past, the way these tracks have been built, it's all been flat textures to simulate this here. We've evolved, I guess, from that, and have taken on the ability, I guess, to do this in a 3D fashion. And this is something that iRacing definitely does not do at all on all their tracks. So that's another fair mention, I guess, as far as on that topic of iRacing. There's a lot of this aspect to safer that they don't apply. So that's one thing it's a tedious process, I guess, to get it accomplished. In such an old sim like this one, but the results of it speak for themselves, I guess, as far as to grunt it out and do that all like that. Where did you get the LiDAR? The LiDAR data is freely available on the USGS website. Now that you mentioned that, it's freely available. That's the amazing part of it. As far as, like, you don't even have to pay anything for it. It's completely free. You go to the USGS website, you look for the area that you're trying to get topographical, and sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not, and in some cases it's not even up to date. But the fact that we've been able to acquire freely on the USGS website as far as more current information based on the area that we're trying to build this track on, yeah, I mean, there you go. And then there are programs out there, like one of the programs we tend to use to utilize that LiDAR is what's called Cloud Compare. It is it's a donation style application. The person that put the application together, he does accept donations, I guess, to develop the program more, to which I have done. Every little bit counts or whatever to establish that. But you're able to put those LAS files that you can, LAS and forget what the other formats are that you can get from the USG website, into this Cloud Compare program, and then export that on into a format that you can use in your modeling program. And then from there, sky's the limit. So, and that's what we've done in a couple of builds now to this point. That Torch has done, at least anyway. He's done Dover Speedway, as well as now he's on to Texas here. So this is where we are. Is that Moo still not working? Oh, Torch said he'll be right back. That Moo is still not working. That's really bugging me. I'm gonna have to figure that out, why that's not working. I sent the updated ones in Discord last night. Yeah, I've got all those, Torch, so yeah. We'll have to figure that out post-fact, just to find out what's going on with that. I'm sure it's something simple. It's nothing catastrophic. But I want to get back into getting our files that we need for our video screen, because we want to get that over in the back stretch over in this area. We want to get this bad boy into the track here. So, where we're at now... Yeah, that was a nice little adventure there, just to kind of show anybody who wants to know as far as like what's going on here. I definitely feel free to ask. I mean, it's I got no problem, I guess, with doing that. So So yeah, this is in our game track folder here, so I confirmed all that. I need to get this over to... Yeah, I'll probably need to get that over to the... Okay, we'll do that later. Again, I don't want to get off track here. So yeah, we've looked at the texture. So previously, I guess just to kind of elaborate while I got this open, there was more information in this area. All this magenta that's in here, just for clarity, represents transparency. This is all going to be like masked out. So all these areas that we see in the track that have, let me see if I can zoom in on it. So these areas that have these pillars and such, all that is going to be transparent. And that's why it's the magenta, just to give some clarity. So if we go back into the track here, I'll kind of put that in perspective. So all this area here that has the magenta, that's all masked out. So you can otherwise make just a flat plane to that, for example, in the form of a model, and then what areas you want to be masked out, you put that magenta to it, and that creates an alpha channel, and then that leaves it invisible in this regard. And that goes for here as well as over in this spot underneath the Speedway Club. So this is all done by that magenta. You can see a little bit of that pink on this part here, but that's how you accomplish that. It eliminates having to put too much 3D effect into something and use just the transparency as in the form of an alpha channel instead. So it eliminates having to add all that detail into the model itself and optimize it a little bit better so that you don't suffer from frame rate loss and such. Yeah, so hence it looks for more 3D. Exactly. So while I had that open there, so let's get back into what we were doing here with our jumbo screen. So we've got, did I get both 3DSs exported? I gotta remember here. I think I did. Yeah, so yeah, we were in the process of bringing them back into Max 5 here. I'm using Max 5. The past exporter that I need to create that file is amongst the different versions that are usable for with that past exporter. Not all versions of Max, 3ds Max, you're able to use the past exporter. Anything from Max 5 up till Max 8 has been confirmed that the past exporter will work. So I tend to be using a legacy version of Max 5. I got this all the way back in like 2000, something like that. So I had it the better part of 20 years. And maybe not quite that long, but a long time. And it still works for what I need to do for that process. So let's go ahead and import those two 3ds files that we talking about. That's going to be in here. So video screen, 3ds, and we're going to do the main structure first. We're going to completely replace the scene and do not convert the unit. So there's our model. And keeping in mind what we did was we did not zero it out this time, right? We kept it in a position here. The only difference from what I was trying to do in the first place was to zero them out and then just apply those translates to once we get into the sandbox. But because I got the two different models, the two different pieces of the one model, the animated frames and the static structure, it kind of threw that out of whack. So I'm going to take a look. There's a way to be able to do that properly. I'm just having a brain fart about it right now, so I'll keep that in mind, I guess, as far as for next time, because I have done that before in that fashion before, as far as to be able to zero it out and be able to apply and keep things into position so that when it combines it into one piece, everything's where it needs to be. But there's no problem with doing it this way. This is the second approach, keeping that translate when I export it out. That's why it's not at 0. You can see the grid over here. It's in the position that I had in the translate prior to export out of 14, out of Max 14. And all we would have to do once we export this out in this fashion is to just put it at 0 when we put it into sandbox. That's the only thing. We'll be able to see that once we get this process completed. So what we need to do on this model is rename this to screen, and that's to comply with the way we've got it scripted. It needs to be called screen. Make sure that's proper, and then we need to apply our texture to it. So let's go ahead and open up the material editor, put that texture into a sphere, Get it all physically applied to the model. So it has to be our texture with the alpha channel. In this form, it's in the form of a TGA with an alpha channel. So with that in there, we'll go ahead and apply it. Now it's applied, and we want to make sure absolutely that this image alpha is there. If this is not applied, there will be no transparency in the model. So if it is in the texture, it should automatically populate. If it doesn't populate this, then you need to make sure you check that so that it is. Probably in the middle of the night. Yeah, absolutely. That's usually when it happens there. Yeah, so that's always the case. All right, so we got everything applied. We've named our model mesh, I guess, as far as what we need it to be based on the way we've got it scripted. It's in this position. That's why it's off of 0, which is over here. And then all we got to do is export it out as a pass file. So we'll go to here. We're going to navigate to that location. Mesh, Texas 2020, video screen, 3DS, and we're going to call this. It's sure to have one in there, so I'll just be able to overwrite it. So this one's the video screen LG. Overwrite that. Cool, so now that's done. Now what I'm going to do is import, while that's still in here, we're going to import the jumbo screen. And we're going to merge it this time. And that should put it right into position. This is what it didn't do last time. So now both those objects are in the proper position where they need to be. The only thing is I don't need this anymore because I already exported that. So we're just isolating that. Make sure this is the proper name, which is what we want. Now we got to apply the texture that goes onto this. So I'm just going to step on this. I can put it in another sphere, but I'm going to go ahead and just use this one so we don't need that texture anymore. And we want to apply that very first frame, which is this jumbo screen 1, and apply it to the model. Definitely a must to have it applied directly to the model, otherwise it won't be there upon export. Oh yeah, that's what I'm trying to get to the point of. The good point there, Torch. So I will be testing this out once I do get everything into place in Sandbox. Yeah. That's one of the last things I like to try to get in the stream, as far as to be able to test everything that we've done in its element, as far as in the sim itself. So yeah, stay tuned for that. So we're going to do export this as jumbo screen pass. That's our other piece. Yes. Cool. Now we've got our 2 pass files. Now we got to copy those over to our Make 3DO. So we need this pass, as well as this pass that we just freshly exported. Copy those over to our Make 3DO. Like thusly. Oh, yep, those are going to be replaced. Now we go back to our command prompt for our Make 3DO, and we're going to use our little shortcut F8. Bring up what we need because everything else is the same. Nothing's changed in that regard. Gonna pan it all the way to the end of the line and just run it again. Got no errors and spit it out. So let's open it up in 3D Sim Ed. See, now it's going to be entirely in position. It's going to be pink, and that's what we want to see, because that texture, it's not. I don't have that in here, I don't think. So that should be fine. So the fact that it's when we seen it earlier in the other fashion that I did it, this animated screen was actually in the middle of, it wasn't in the right position. Just put it that way. So now it is. And just like I've said before, you don't always want to go by how it looks in 3D Sim Ed. You want to get it in the sandbox and go from there. But definitely, from what we've seen, the positioning of that animated frames previously, before this point, it was definitely, there's something wrong. So that's why I've taken this approach. So that's just, it's just another way of doing it is all. Okay, so we can close that. Now what we need to do is take our 3DO at this point, along with all of our textures that go along with it, and put it into our track edit folder, and then hence into Sandbox. So let's copy this and put that into our track here, and then we're gonna have to bring all those textures that go with that model with it. So I'm going to also copy this to a second. I'm going to put it over in here too. So we want to replace anything that's in here. Okay, so that's going to be our new model. No, these are all the textures I got to bring into it now. So all these animated frames, all 52 of them, to include the texture for the static structure. So I need all of that and this. So I'm going to copy all of this over to our track edit folder, which is right here. There we go. Now we got all the files that we need for that newly constructed 3DO. And just to confirm that I got everything in here, if I open this in 3D Sim in our track edit folder, it should open up the same way. Cool. So there's everything. Just like that. This is what we want to see. That's our stat. Now, these frames here that are showing on your currently will be animated during the race session. We'll be able to see that once we get to test it in the sim. Cool. So we got everything we need in there. Now we got to get it into the track. So we got it in our track edit folder. Now we got to get it physically into the track. And what this requires is go into the object placement view. And then pretty much anywhere in this thing here, I usually like to try and get it out of the way of, so you can see all these items that are in here that are flickering. I like to try to keep it out of the way of that. So I'll just click outside the track here like this. Add trackside object, and we should have that option to apply our video screen. And it's in there, you just can't see it. It's probably way out here somewhere. So what I can do is go to my items list this way and choose it this way. So they relatively do get put in here alphabetically. So it should be right there. So I'll highlight it. And all we got to do at this point, so there it is right there. All I have to do with the way I went about this is just put this on fixed and change these all to 0. And I'll put that right where it needs to go. Go to 0, 0, and 0. That should put it right where it's supposed to go. So that's definitely enough. And I think for the majority of the pieces that Torch has done, he's done it in much the same fashion. Now, this is another thing you might run into the problem. It's like, there's the box for it as far as the bounding box, but where's my item? That's normal in a lot of cases, especially with animated pieces like this. This will sometimes happen. Don't be concerned with that. So what you want to do, because the bounding box is here and it definitely lets you put it in place, all you have to do, I'm going to go back to geometry view. I'm going to save this track as a new PTF and then reload the track and it should be there. Okay, so we're going to name this as a new PTF. So I'm going to name this just underscore video screen. So I know what's going on with this particular PTF save. Alright, video screen. I can name it Big Hoss, whatever, but it'll just video screen, Big Hoss, whatever. So we'll save that and we can confirm that it's saved. Yep, so there it is right there, our new PTF. Now I'm going to close Sandbox and reopen it with that new PTF. And our item should be visible. There we go. Yeah, so this is, so we got to give it a second to load. There we go. So I'll load it up here. So give it another second. Yeah, because of these multiple monitor setups that I got up on here between the two PCs, they tend to not, yeah, they tend to like hiccup here a little bit. That's why you see it shift in there like that. I just deal with it, I guess. All right, so now we got it loaded. We should see our screen. And there she be, right in position. There she be. Now, what'll happen is I can check out state switches, and I'm gonna check that over on that too, just to confirm. Like I was saying, maybe it might have a state switch in there that we're not aware of. But so this is in race mode. This is in race weekend mode. If I switch this over to weekend 0, which is testing, that means it's not like in a race event. So it's just like going there with nothing there. Turn that off, we should see the blank screen. And this is how it'll look in testing, happy hour, qualifying, and so on. It's not till race that we'll see the animated frame show up. So the one thing I do want to take into consideration when I look at it from this standpoint is to make sure there's no clipping on that populated animated frames that show up. So let's go back to race weekend and put this to a 2, which is full race weekend. So we're at the race. We got people in the stands, which those aren't done yet. That's still yet to be done. Let's just pretend for a second. Now we got the animated frames. So it's only going to show the first frame in this mode, but once in the sim, it's going to show all those animated frames that I applied. You saw all the textures for that. All those will show in sequence. That's how that'll work. And we got to do a little bit more work to this model to allow that to happen. So let's go. This is the next step. So we got to go physically into that model, and let's go back to object placement view. See, and this will happen too. This is, you know, when you have objects that kind of overlap each other like this, sometimes you won't let you select the actual piece that you're trying to get to. So the way you remedy that is come into the object properties here and select it from the list here. Okay, now I can select it this way. So now I can see it's selected. Now from here, I got to add an animation node. Animation, so I got to go animation. So that's it, sounds. And I want to say how many frames do I want per second. In this case, I usually go for the number of frames that I got, which is 52. I tend to go like around 10 to 15 frames per second. And that gives a nice flow of all those as a loop for those frames, so that it makes it look like it's moving really fast, you know, as far as the race action. Okay, so we're gonna do animation, and then number of frames is 52. That's how many frames we have, and then we want it to be, we're gonna try 15 frames a second. 15 frames a second per frame. Okay, and that's all we need to do. So that's the additional things we need to do to that item to get that animation node. All that animation that we added via the script of this particular model, that's how we get it to activate in this part. So with all that done, I'm going to put it back to geometry view and save that track, PTF. And I'm going to go ahead and just save this as video screen B. And there's a method to the madness of that. So like the first one, the first PTF is going to include just the placement of it, and the B part is going to be applying the, so if any point as I test this out in the sim, if something goes wrong, I can revert to whichever PTF that I can. So in a lot of cases, you'll end up with a slew of PTFs doing that process, and there's nothing wrong with that. You want, it's always better to have more options of PTFs to fall back on than not. That's highly recommended, I guess, as far as that. Okay, so everything's done there. We've got our screen in position. Now, the other thing we don't have in this area yet, as far as the stands and whatever that's on the back stretch, but this is definitely where it needs to go, based on the Lidar information that we do have at our disposal. So that's been confirmed. That's where that needs to be in reality, even though this is virtual reality. So it's straight across. So picture, if you will, this would be like where the starter stand is, right about where the midsection of the grandstands is here. And you're looking over from the grandstands at that. And what I want to look at, see what it's like I was saying, see how it's clipping? I might have to make some adjustment to that. We don't want that to do that. That'll definitely be evident in the sim itself. So we may have to tick that up just a little bit more so that it doesn't do that. That's why I wanted to look at it from this way. So it will definitely be evident in such a fashion in the sim itself. So I'll probably have to adjust that a little bit on the model, which is not a big deal. We've got all those raw pieces now to be able to tweak on that is all. How do you stop that? As far as the clipping, what you do in the model itself is, what I did was just raise it above the main structure just a tad, but I didn't raise it enough. But I want to do it in such a fashion that there's no gap in between that, a visible gap in between this. So you can already tell there's a little bit of a gap here. I was trying to keep that to a minimum. So I'll just have to tick these animated frames out just a little bit more so that it doesn't do that from a distance. That's one way to go. That's the main way. So this these animated frames might have to be redone. These are based on a 2015 build of the track, so they're not 100% representative of what we're seeing here. They're based on still frames from the 2015 build, which was the old configuration of the track. Since then, they've had reconfigured it, especially on the turns 1 and 2 end, as well as to add different libraries, I guess, to that as far as the safer and all that stuff. So these will probably get updated, but they are going to serve at least for placeholders for now. So at least we have some frames to it. So yeah, that's a little bit of tweaking to that, but I think for now I'm going to leave that right where it's at. I got a really good idea as far as what I need to do.
Hit the pace car! Hit the pace car! Hit the pace car! What for?
Torch using those channel points redemptions. He's got the channel points there, so that's another one that I've got out there for the channel points redemptions. We're getting to that point as far as like getting this into the sim itself and being able to try the track out. So yeah, we're definitely on our way to that. It's one of my favorite clips from one of my all-time favorite movies, Days of Thunder. For anybody that isn't aware, there's a lot of good one-liners like that in that movie, and that's very relevant because of what we're doing here too. Okay, so we've got the next step. What we'll have to do is get everything that we just done here into our game track folder. So right now, as it sits right now, we got it all in our track edit folder, which I always recommend to keep those separate. So that way you've got a backup. You always got a backup, I guess, of things. So in this case, I've got this track edit folder. We've got our game track directory, which is still in the original conditioning prior to doing anything with it. Now that we've confirmed pretty much everything works the way we want it to, at least in Sandbox, now we can bring in all that stuff into our game track directory to be able to test this in the sim, and then go from there. Be able to see what's going on in the sim. So this is the progression of things. You create the things, put it in the Sandbox so that it's in that, in the track in that sense, and then be able to test it in the sim itself. That's part of that process. So as I said, we need to get all of our things from our track edit folder. And I think the way I'm going to do this is grab it right from here. We got everything that we need in this one right here, just to instead of trying to select all the items from here, because we got a lot of other files that are in here. I could definitely miss a file pretty easily. So this is another reason why I like to keep things separated out. So this individual piece here for our video screen model, it's all right here. And I do that with all the individual pieces. So got this score tower that will eventually get done. That's another thing that need to be done. These are the original grandstands that we came up with before the one that Torch has created. But I have all the ones that Torch has done, for example, in a separate deal. So all the individual pieces that he has got here, I'll probably crunch this down or whatever to put it in separate pieces there, just to keep that all separate. So if we need to edit these individually, just like I need to do with the animated frames for that screen, that's all separate. I don't have to go digging for it. And then once that's updated, and it's in an individual capacity, I'll put it back into the track, test it out in Sandbox, and hence it into the sim. But at any point of that, if you see something that's wrong, just like I did with the positioning of those animated frames way back when, you always have something to fall back on. Backups are a definite must in doing this type of thing. Save yourself some headache and time by making it easier in that fashion. All right, so let's where was I? So we want to get all of our video screen stuff into our game track directory. That's what we're doing. So we got to go. Let's go like this. Grab that. Grab all of, making sure I got everything like so. I don't need the 3DS folder. That's all of our raw model information. Copy that and put that into our game track directory. So just to confirm that I am in the Papyrus NASCAR Racing 2003 season tracks. And that's our folder in our game track directory. Paste all that information, and I keep everything highlighted to make sure that everything did copy the way I expected. Now I can check to see the same number of files exist in here as they do in our track edit. So 172 items here, and 175 here, and that's because I've got these PTFs. So if I eliminate those 3 files for that, we have exactly what we need. I also do need to bring over that PTF file. So we do have this original one that's here. I got to bring over the updated PTF, which is this one, to our game track directory as well. Otherwise, it will not show in the sim. So this one here does not apply. So just putting the item into our game track directory is not going to apply because we don't have the proper PTF in here. So what I'm going to do for our game track directory is just go ahead and back this one up and put our new PTF in here that has that new video screen object applied. Is that emote not working? Yeah, it is working. Okay, cool. I know my one chat there, it's not showing. Yeah, so the beer does. Yeah, so if you want to, we got free drinks here. Just drink responsibly is all. There you go. Exclamation point drink. I forgot about that one actually there, Torch. I'm surprised you remember that. Noise. Yeah, you almost got that Mr. Robot. So that Mr. Robot, that's the maximum jackpot you can get in here. Yeah, so kind of like a revision. Yeah, absolutely. A reversion there, yeah, so absolutely. And that happens a lot with this type of stuff you're doing. You'll find out you have to tweak on stuff. That's a part of it. So we want to name this one back up. Okay. And I do have this PTF already right here. But again, you never have enough backups. You know, you can always screw up as far as like just what we're dealing with those canopies on that. Something might have been out of place. It's always better to have other places to say. Once you get this all done, you'll actually do, you know, some cleanup to make sure that you've got everything that you absolutely have to have at the end of the day. But we need is this PTF in our game track directory here. And because I did rename it for what's going on here, in order for this to load in the track, I have to make sure it's exactly the same name as the track folder. If I kept it this way, the track wouldn't load. So what I'm going to do is copy the name of the track. A lot of this is summary for most that might be lurking in the chat, so it's always good review, good practice. Okay, rename this to what I just copied, that folder name. Now this track will load in the sim. The PTF matches I also, probably another fair mention, I also took the liberty of applying a cam to this. So we will have some, they might still need to be tweaked, but it'll at least give us some, otherwise if you don't put a cam file while you're testing a track in game, you get a lot of up close, you know, as far as zoomed in type of effect, I guess, to going around the track and such. So the fact that I put something in there to give me different angles, to be able to see different angles, I guess, of the car going around the track and so on. So yeah, it's definitely probably still just a placeholder, but I figure it's worth it. So all right, I think I got everything I need. I need to do one more thing, and that is to, let's bring this up over here. So I got to do some work over here on the side. Give me a second here. Get this thing even more so ready. All right. So I might have to switch some things over, so I don't have the wheel over. I got the wheel to the side. So in order to, you know, take full advantage, I guess, of the racing wheel once we get into the simulation, I'm just getting these things set up here. So just take me a moment. Just bear with me. Okay. So I need to be in. Let's go here. Okay, so making sure everything's all set up. What I am going to do is do it this way. Yeah, that'll work. A little bit of an intermission here, so just feel free to have a beer on me, or just go ahead and play the mini chat games in the chat. We got the shot. You can administer yourself a shot of fluids, which are on reserve. Keep in mind that those are on a cooldown. You can't spam yourself those. You can play some slots, exclamation point slots. You can risk some of your fluids, exclamation point risk. And at any point, if any of those don't satisfy, I guess, as far as just supplementing your fluids, you can always scold the bot, exclamation point scold. It may just give you some free units of fluid there. Okay. Let's see. Open window. Alright, do I have it in here? I should. I'm gonna bring over this one. Alright, just a couple more seconds, folks. I appreciate everybody's patience. We're getting ready, I guess, to be able to test these, test it out in the simulation. NASCAR Racing 2003. Yeah, and I did say that right. 2003. The fact that it is next to a 17-year-old sim. 18, probably even better so. And, yeah, it's still very popular racing simulation. Still very much in use. Alright, so we got that. Let's minimize all that. Cool. Now, let's bring this over. I need to get a couple more things done here. A little bit of prep here is all. Okay, and we want to do that. Okay, I think we should be good to go. Let's see if we can bring this over and see what we got here. Hopefully, if I did this right, this should work. Alright, cool. Now, I'm going to take just a second. I'm going to mute the mic, whatever, so I can get, I'm going to get the wheel set on over here. I got a different rig for that. So just so that there's not a lot of clunky noise and all this stuff. You don't care, you want to hear that. It's going to take me just one more little second here, get that over there, and we'll be racing. Be just a second. Alright, I think we're back, folks. So, yeah, as you can see, got the NASCAR Racing 2003 with the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series mod. These are not the new models, I guess, that they're being presented, I guess, in NASCAR as of recent. So, yeah, we're going to be testing out with the most up-to-date, latest mod that we have for NASCAR Racing 2003, which is depictive of the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series from 2019. So yeah, here we go. We're gonna do this in testing mode because we don't have anything set up in the track to do a race yet. So there's still much work to do, I guess, to get it prepped and ready, I guess, to do a race on it. So we're just gonna be doing this in testing mode. And it looks like the wheel is kind of funky here. I gotta just do a little bit of adjustment. You race every week. Right, I know you've mentioned that before, Torch, I guess, as far as you race with your buddy on these tracks that you build too, and that's you have a blast on them. I know I was having a blast on it. I did do some testing on it previously, I guess, as far as to get up to this point. So yeah, I'm really curious to get in here and see what we got going on. Yeah. All right, so let's we're gonna go ahead and turn the music off so we can get all the sounds that come out of the simulation itself. So let's go ahead. Let's turn that off for now. That way we can get all the sounds there. Hopefully the sounds come over. For some reason my wheeler's not working there. Why is that not working? Might have to return that on here. Just a second here. I don't know why my little overlay for my wheel is not working there. What's up with that? Got to work with me here. All right, let's see. Technical difficulties. That's been the theme of things today. Let's see what's going on with that. Huh. Why that's not working. Let me see if I can relaunch that. Possibly. Let's see if I can relaunch that real quick. It's there, but it's not functioning. Oh, it won't even let me turn it off. Hold on a second. Really got to work on my setup here, I guess, as far as and it won't even let me close that sucker. Oh well. Yeah, something went a little funky, I guess, with the overlay there, so that probably won't work. That's not really good at critical. I'll have to figure that out, I guess, for next time. But let's go into testing mode here. Hopefully all these sounds come over. Now we don't have any. There's usually a track logo and a track shot, you know, as far as what track you're selecting here. But we do have information up here that we are in Texas 2020 TE, which is short for Torch Edition. Just in case anybody was wondering, we're going to load this up. We should not get any errors here. So the track loads right up with everything that with our new PTF in our. We should be able to see as we drive around here that video stand. Now it'll show the blank screen. Because we're in testing mode, it should show the blank screen with no animated frames. Now, we've already seen as far as like what it would potentially do during a race session. But like I said, because of not having all of those items set up, I guess, for the track to run a race session, won't be able to do that up to this point. Eventually, we will be able to. That'll take a little bit of time, but for now, we can only do this in testing mode. But at least we'll be able to see the object in the track. So here we go. I think I gotta double check and make sure I do have a setup. I did work on a setup for this thing. Hopefully this does work. Hopefully she does work. So let's go to get out of here. I gotta go into the garage here real quick to make sure I got something loaded. Yep. So this is the one I was working on. So good to go. All right, let's go ahead and take some laps around this bad boy. You get to enjoy it just as much as I have been able to. There's our screen that we put in there. And it is just the blank screen, as it should be. Really got to slow up going into this corner because it's not as much banking on the other end. Really got to slow it up. This end of the track is definitely much faster than that corner. That's a slower time than I've had. I've had mid-30s. But I was trying to take it easy so I didn't crash. Because you do got to get these tires warmed up pretty good. You know, in the first couple of laps, otherwise you will wreck. That's guaranteed. Got to pedal it coming out of the exit of 4 there a little bit. There we go. Now we're getting into the mid-30s. Getting them warmed up. See, yeah, push is so bad on this. There's not, definitely and clearly not as much banking on turns 1 and 2 there this came out of. Way faster on this end of the track. Kind of scraping bottom on the car there. A little bit on the apron. 30.2, that's my best time yet. Not to brag. Pushing a little bit. She wants to go to the outside wall really fast because you're trying to so hard, I guess, to go just as fast as you do on this end. Just can't do it. It's not possible. And that's all because of the banking of the track on that end. I'm gonna do one more lap here.
30.4.
So I'm staying right about the mid-30s. That's about what I was averaging when I was testing earlier. Wow, she pushes so bad on exit. Alright, we're gonna come into the pits. See how the pitting feels here. We don't have a lot of the lines that are usually prevalent, you know, to come into the pits, I guess, properly. But you get the sense, you get a sense of the transition that's there. Very, very smooth, very smooth, very nice.
39.2.
And we're just gonna go ahead and put it in our parking spot. So the pit stalls aren't placed. As I said, a lot of them types of aspects, as far as the, you know, to get it race ready, are not evident as of yet. But that's still to be done. So we're gonna get out of here and watch the replay. Let's take a look at the replay here. We're gonna put it back to the beginning of the session here. We'll just kind of advance it here a little bit. All right, let's advance it here. We spend a little time. There we go. So we're in our pits. And there we go. Let's watch our run here. Now, you might tend to question, I guess, as far as the black lines that are coming across the car through this section of the track. Torch was trying out a little bit of something with the way the painted lines in that section were working there. That will probably necessarily be changed. I think from what Torch and I have talked about, that was not the effect he was looking for. So. Yeah, it turned out very nice, but you'll be able to see what my run looked like here. So you saw it from the cockpit perspective. Now you can see just going around. Now I did apply some cameras, as I said here, so I do have some different shots. Oops, that's not the ones I wanted. I'm gonna go this way. So there's a speed shot there, and there's a speed shot in this part. This is in TV2. Some of these might need to get adjusted, but they're good for placeholders, at least for now. This is a TV2 perspective with a couple of speed shots in it. That's coming up the front stretch. That's just past the start-finish line, going into turn 1. And then, again, you can see that black line across the car. That's just that painted line that has it's a light map effect to it. There's that speed shot again. On the back stretch, coming out of turn 2. That's going into turn 3. And coming out of turn 4. Now I'll put it on spectator. This is another view that I got here. It gives a little bit more panned out view from the stands. And that dark groove that's going around the track there, that is the preliminary race groove that will get adjusted. That'll definitely change as we get the groove applied to the track. As it stands right now, that is not evident in the track yet. So that's just what the game, the simulation itself will put down, I guess, as far as an initial groove. That obviously is not accurate as it stands right now. So just to make that abundantly clear. And should be coming up here where I think at this point here is where I come through the pits. This will be going through the back stretch here one last time. So the fact that we can see that that structure of the big hoss that we created is in the track. It has all the animated pieces. You can see all the sparks coming off that too. You can see how it was bottoming out. Oh, I guess I did do one more lap. Okay. Yeah, this must have been the last lap here. But yeah, you can definitely see that in there, as well as all the other objects that are currently applied to the track. The biggest components obviously are the walls, and as well as the safer, definitely, because that truly defines, I guess, as far as just the racing surface itself. And it drives really nice, as you can tell there. It's really fun to drive on. You really have to pay attention to the fact that you cannot go nearly as fast on the turn 1 and 2 end. That has that compound down there, that black compound down there. You definitely cannot go as fast on that end. And I think that's what they were going for when they reconfigured this track. And so just a fair mention here too, as the cars come into the stall, and they are out of place because they're not set, as I was mentioning. That pit road there, as far as that pit wall, that's all model. That's all 3DO, so that's not geometry. So the way it blends with the geometry, you know, as far as our F sections for our textures for pit road and all that, where the stalls are is to include the pit road wall, that's all model. So it's just to show you, I guess, as far as how those different aspects of the track actually mesh with each other. You can't tell the difference between it hardly at all. And that's something I want to make a fair point to. Yeah, that kind of gives you a little bit of what's going on with, you know, checking out the track in the simulation itself. You can see a little bit of the you know, the detail that's in the very end of the safer walls. As you look in the infield there, that blue wall, that's all safer. That has 3D foam into it as well, as far as on the inside and the outside of the retaining walls. So there you have it, folks. That is a little look of the track in the sim. Let me go ahead and get out of this. Yep, so that's just another replay, I guess, as far as coming into the pits there. And, you know, kind of getting a sense of, you know, what cameras would need to be adjusted. As it stands right now, they're pretty good placeholders for now, but at least at first there, before I put the cam file that I have in there, you were just getting really thick close-ups, I guess, of the car going around it. So you didn't really get a sense of what was going on, you know, what was in the track itself. So that's why I felt it necessary to go ahead and do that. So again, that is a little taste of the track in the simulation itself with all the work that we've done there. The only thing I've got left to do, I'm going to go ahead and turn the playlist back on here. The only thing I really have got left to do is just kind of do a little bit of cleanup and take any questions and answers, I guess, that anybody might have of what's just transpired there. If you liked it, what have you, if you got some, even some constructive criticism, at least anyway, feel free to provide, because, but just to keeping in mind, I guess, as far as everything that we've mentioned here so far, it's very, this track is very much in the preliminary stages as it is, so, you know, constructive criticism is always acceptable. You haven't raced on it yet, as far as even what I've done? I mean, to actually race on it, I guess, with other cars, yeah. And that'll come eventually. Give me just 1 second, I'm going to mute the mic for just a moment, I'm going to move the wheel out of the way, I'll be right back. Alrighty then, I think that pretty much settles that. So yeah, just putting myself back into the realm of, you know, being able to do some cleanup here. Now we've gotten a chance, I guess, to be able to test it out in the sim. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. We just got to adjust some things here in the studio. Okay. Let's see here. Let's bring it back over to this. Hopefully the audios in that, while it was in the sim there, weren't too bad. No, they do, in some cases, tend to be a little bit louder on my end than y'all's, but hopefully that came across pretty good. It wasn't too light or too loud. Let me go ahead and do this. Okay, let's do that. Swish. Yeah, I got to figure out why my it won't even let me close that. The telemetry for the overlay for the racing wheel and all that stuff, that was not working for some reason. I got to figure out what was up with that. But other than that, not too chubby. All right. So here we go. Yeah, so we're right back to our game track directory, to where we put everything to get it prepped to be able to check it out in the sim. And really, it just comes down to a matter of cleanup. You know, as far as like what all the work that we've done, just making sure everything is where it needs to be. Notice, like, we've got everything here. That's good. As far as our Make 3DO, we don't need all this stuff in here anymore. We're done with that. We've confirmed everything is good to go. I'm trying to figure out why I put the jumbo screen in there. I wonder why that didn't load initially in that one version of 3D Sim Ed, but it did load properly anyway. So yeah, in hindsight, as far as like I said, as far as like the way the approach I ended up taking with placing, as far as not being able to zero it all out, there's a method to do that. To be able to zero everything out. Let me get out of Max 5 here. Let's open Max 14 up here real quick. Let's go ahead and reset this. Exit out of that. And we're going to open Max 14 back up here and look at our scene. And a lot of it has to do with, as far as, what I'm saying about, the translate, as far as like being able to zero it out and be able to put those values that you save, as far as to bring it into the sandbox and use those values while it's zeroed out prior to export in 3ds Max, for example. Because you got the two components there, you definitely don't want to zero those both out like I did. There's a way to, and I think one way that I did it, now that it's coming back to me I guess a little bit, is you can keep it grouped and zero it out, and then ungroup it, and then from there, those will be in position. And that might be more what I'm thinking of. That's what I wanted to touch on here, just to see if I was onto something there. I know it's been a while since I've had to do it, but I know it is possible. But it does come down to the overall translate between the two of them. The way I took it, like I said, as far as to zero them both out, that's not gonna put them in where they need to be, because there's no way to be able to position the animated frames, because it's now in one chunk. We combined it together as one model as far as the 3DO, so there's no way to manipulate that once it's in that fashion. Some might beg to differ. Why not just make the animated frames a separate object? You could do that, definitely, but to me, I think it just creates more unnecessary 3DOs that you don't need. So I guess it, just as maybe a personal preference there, I would rather have less items in there than more, I guess. And the fact that I do know there is a way to do that, and it was just eluding me, I guess, at the moment, that was what. Yeah, so what I want to do is this the right one? Yeah. Yep. So what I want to do is go into Max 14. I was trying to get that loaded while I forgot. So as I was yammering my gums there, I could have been doing that. My fault. So yeah, let's get Max 14 up there, and we're going to take a look at what we can do. And I think, just as I said there, one of the ways you can go about that is to group the items that you are trying to export out, to get it zeroed out in that fashion as a group, and then ungroup it, and then just export each one individually. And I think that should work. We're going to try it. I think that was, from what I can recall, my memory's starting to wake back up again as far as remember how I did that anyway. That's good. No thanks. Yeah, so for the confirmation, I guess, of how it sounds. Okay, so now we got Max 14 here loaded back up there. We're going to load our scene up. Close that. We're going to navigate to our track edit folder here. Not the track edit, but the scene. So that should be here. No, my bad. I goofed. It's going to be on here. That's going to be in Torches folder. So I got a specialized folder for Torches stuff. So anything that we were working on this particular track all the way back in January, and even before then, but this is all what I have. So even in December, we've just now been able to get back into working on it, between himself and myself, as far as like having the PC problems and so on. So yeah, it's good to get back into it. So we're gonna open this scene back up, and let's take a look at our options, like I was mentioning, to zero this model out and follow that concept of being able to zero it out and apply the translate to it once we get it, prior to getting it zeroed out, and then apply that translate that you copy. And this is what I tried doing earlier as far as writing these down. These will probably be different in this approach that I take to it, but same idea. You want to be able to take these translates prior to zeroing it out, and then use those values to place the item in sandbox instead of using just 0. So a couple different ways you can go about it. Who farted at me? Torch. Another channel points redemptions with the fart. That's pretty funny. curtains up. All right, here we go. Thank you for the curtain. I'm gonna bring the curtain back out. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yep. So he's letting me know. I guess for that. That's another good use, I guess, of the sound redemption. The audio alerts redemptions. You can use those, I guess, to get my attention to be like, hey, yeah, dummy. So there we go. Another good use for him. All right, so we're back to square one with where we saved our scene with our video screen model, our big hoss. So what I'm going to do, and this should already be grouped. Yep. So what I'm going to do while I've got it opened in this fashion is right now it should have a translate. And this is all grouped together. It's got that animated frames as well as that. So what I'm going to do is zero this out with it grouped like so. And then we can zoom back over to it. So now it's zeroed in this fashion. It's still grouped. Now what I'm going to do is ungroup it. Okay. And they should both have the proper translate. Okay, so the other thing I want to do is remove all these items that I don't need. So I just want to keep. Should have did that. Whoop, I should have did that before. Just a second here. No problem. So let's go in here and go to our items list here. We're going to select. Actually, I want to unhide all this stuff that's hidden. I'm going to do select all. Bring all that stuff out and get rid of some of this. So we go select all. We need to keep this and the plane 01. Delete everything else. Give that a second. So now we've got it. So what I did, just to confirm here, I kept it grouped. I zeroed it out, and now I've got it ungrouped. And now what should happen, oops, as I select these individual pieces, they're gonna have, okay, they're not completely zero, but I think this will work as far as to get it into position. You'll have to take these offsets here into consideration because it's not going to be completely zero. But from here, you should be able to export out each piece and just take these translates into consideration when you're applying that original translate prior to. And I think that's what I did, because if I were to zero it out from this point, that's not going to work. We'll end up with the same result we had as far as the animated frames being offset, I guess, to the main structure. That's not going to go into the, that's not going to work right. Yeah, so if I zero this out, as you can tell, see, that's not going to put it in the right spot. So I think the other thing I could do, I don't know if that would work or not. I could try and apply a reset X form from this position. Now it's in this spot. So it's relatively at zero, right? Relatively. But we want it to be at true zero so that when we apply that value that we saved earlier, which was this value, that we can use those both. For the whole model, you know, when it gets combined and gets via the script. So let's try it this way. So if we do, with that item selected, we're going to go reset X form. And reset selected. I think. Yeah, see, it's got that down there. That's to be expected. So that might not work. What else? Like, I know there's another way to do it. I'm just trying to remember. But it's something to this effect. It's still eluding me a little bit. I wanted to run with the idea that I had in my head as far as if that was the case, but that was not. Collapse that. So that at least confirms the X form. We're going to do that on this piece here too. Usually you only have to apply this reset X form if at any point that you do say like rescale or resize or manipulate that model in any sense. We haven't done any of that. The only thing we've done is just change the position or the translate of it. We haven't manipulated the integrity of the model at all. And that's usually, in most cases, the only time you want to reset the X form is when you do that. It just, you know, the bounding box that basically is, so it's not out of whack or out of wonk. That's what you want to do. Anytime, doesn't matter if you go make it bigger, taller, wider, whatever. Anytime you do anything like in that nature to a model, you always want to reset the X form. Get into the habit of that. Doesn't hurt to do it. All right, so with this one here, we're going to reset X form, reset selected, and that's what we should yeah, it's definitely what we should see. And now that's confirmed, we'll go ahead and collapse that. Now we're back to square one. So, yeah, the fact that these aren't at true 0 is a definite issue. I'm going to have to look and see, because I know I have another scene for a video screen that I did. I think I have the actual max scene for it. I'm going to have to look and see how I did that, just to kind of reiterate. But just to let you know, I guess there is more than one way to apply getting your object position into the track. Either via the form that we ended up settling with there, to get it in the track the way we did, to just set the object to 0, even though we kept the translate where it was. There's that option, which I think, as I said, that's the way Torch did it anyway, and there's nothing wrong with doing it that way. That's one approach to it. Or you can have it zeroed out, take note of those translates before you zero it out, and then be able to apply those translates to the model once you bring it back into Sandbox. Those translates will follow suit. The fact that these two pieces by themselves, independently, they have a different translate. They're not fully at 0 even when I did that as a group. So, anywho, yeah, just coming down to, I do have a scene, like I said, to review myself as far as how I went about being able to zero out the two pieces so that they're where they need to be when they get combined. So, with all that being said, I hope everybody had a fun time, I guess, with this. I know I did, with finally getting back into track building for NASCAR Racing 2003, and revisiting, I guess, the track that is Texas Motor Speedway. I'm looking forward to being able to show what we've got next coming up for here. Not 100% sure what we'll have next time. There'll probably be some tweaks to some of the things, the issues and such, like with the clipping of the animated frames to this. We'll be doing some of that, as well as probably some new items. So I hope everybody did enjoy, I guess, as far as what I had to present here, I guess, as far as working on the Texas Motor Speedway. Like I said, I had a blast. I hope you did too. So with all that being said, I'm going to take a look here real quick and see who we've got to raid. I'm getting really hungry. I'm famished. I haven't eaten anything since breakfast, so it's definitely worth that time. But I'm going to leave that up there for a second while I look for a potential raid target. And we're going to send all you lovely folks, I guess, to somebody that is deserving, I guess, of your company. So let's go. Who do we have on? There's a couple of different options here. So if and when I do find somebody to raid, I got a good one. You might enjoy this fella. He's into the Farming Simulator 19 stuff too. I think he's currently working on a. Let me double check this real quick. He's working on a 16x map for Farming Simulator. And Torch finishing up there. So you didn't quite still get that Mr. Roboto one there, but you did get at least another jackpot. I think you did get that one earlier. I was dealing with some technical difficulties, I guess, at the time you got that one there, but yeah. Right, I had a good time there too, Torch. It was good. We had a little bit of some hiccups there, but that's to be expected. But yeah, I think what I'm going to do, folks, is send you on over to Mr. Brew Crew. Yeah, he's working diligently, I guess, on a 16x map. Huge map for Farm Sim 19. And I'll tell you, he's pretty good at it too. So I think you guys might enjoy him as far as just keeping in the same theme, I guess, of the creative process, I guess, of things. So let me switch this on over to our raid scene. Get everybody ready, I guess, as far as go on over there. Yeah, 3 jackpots. There you go. I mean, that's 2 of the same that you got there, but you had the one that was the little red guy. You kind of missed out, I guess, like getting that Mr. Robot. There's always next time. The Mr. Roboto is the maximum jackpot. Let me switch this on over to the raid scene. And we're going to close this out on a positive note here. Again, I appreciate everybody that did drop by, I guess, for Spline Design Studios Saturday. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope to see more of you. We had some people we haven't seen in here in a while. Miss Kiddos dropped on in. That was nice to see. And yeah, hopefully get more of that as this progresses here. Let's go ahead and roll some credits here. Yeah, for the most part, it was pretty quiet here, but we did have, like I said, some new people. We had Racer James came in with that resub, that Twitch Prime resub. He dropped down in here. He's doing some home renovations there, I guess, as far as putting some flooring in, I guess, in his new house that he's had a while. But yeah, it's good to see him drop on in here. He's one of our very good friends, I guess, as far as that helps us with, has even been involved in a lot of our track builds and such. So let me go ahead and put a copy of the link here where I'm going to send y'all, folks, just in case the raid doesn't go through properly. I think he's still going to go. He's only been on about an hour, so I think it should be good. So yeah, let me put this in here. Just to let y'all know where we're going. Oh, shoot. Didn't copy it right. Technical difficulties, again. Not that we haven't had enough of those, right, folks? We've worked through them, though. That's always a good thing. I had to restart the stream for some that weren't here, I guess, as far as when I first started here. I had to restart the stream because we had issues with the mic not wanting to cooperate. So, yeah, it's always fun. Alright, just getting things set up here. Hold tight. Okay, this should do it, I think. Hopefully this will work. Copy this. Alright, so this is where I'm going to be sending y'all, folks. So if you want to go over there, even as I speak there, feel free to do that. But I'm going to go over there and I'm going to raid them. So if you want to stay, be a part of the raid, go ahead and do that. Or if you want to go over there right now, feel free to do so. But just in case anybody, we got some latecomers, I guess, into the stream there that might be lurking or whatever. Just letting everybody know where I'm sending you. So let me get this. No. Hopefully this. So just in case the raid doesn't go work through you, at least you'll have an idea of where I'm sending you off. So when you. All right, everybody. Last final goodbye. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. I'll be seeing you again real soon. And bye for now.